Chapter 261. It's unbelievable. Beaver looked at the wound on Killy's leg in amazement. This is mogul poison, and you can suppress it with these herbs? Aaron, also known as the Thought Body, spread his hands casually. My ancestor. Be honest, Mr. Gaius, Beaver interrupted. Well, I have one. No, two teachers to be exact. One is a master of potions, and the other is a master of botany. As their apprentice, suppressing the onset of poison is nothing to me. Who are they? Beaver asked excitedly. If you can, please recommend them to me. Thought Body sighed internally. If there were no accidents, you wouldn't see them in this life, and it would be enough in the next. Ahem. They left Middle-earth, and I don't know where they are now. It's a pity, Beaver said, beating his chest and stamping his feet in regret. However, there are only so many medicinal materials in this town. I have been researching for several hours before I found a way to suppress the toxicity. It will take a few days to completely detoxify. It's amazing, Beaver sighed. Wang Yao can detoxify, and you can use these common medicines instead of Wang Yao. Spread the word, and I don't know how many doctors will feel ashamed. Kingleaf grass? Sigrid's eyes widened in astonishment. Isn't that a weed? We all use it to feed pigs. Beaver looked awkward. The Thought Body suppressed a smile and patted Keely on the shoulder. Wait, buddy, I'll find you this magical herb right now. I'll go too. Beaufort raised his hand immediately. After the two walked out of the room, they looked at each other and laughed. Beaufort found the pigsty and snatched a plant of grass from a pig's mouth. To be honest, I really saw the lovelessness in Killy's eyes just now. I guess he wouldn't even think something used to feed pigs could save his life. I didn't expect that either, the Thought Body said speechlessly, then picked up an identical weed from the pig trough and wrapped it up in disgust. After getting the king leaf grass, Beaver quickly cleaned it and boiled it in a special way. Drink this bowl of medicine after cooking, and the toxins in Killy's body will be completely eliminated within a few hours. At this time, Bard came over and looked at Aaron seriously. Time is running out. Thorin and the others will arrive at the Lonely Mountain after dark. We must prepare for the battle before night comes. The Thought Body looked at Beaufort and Beaver. I'll leave Killy to you. I have to make some preparations and find ways to deal with Smaug if he comes. After finishing speaking, the Thought Body followed Bard down the stairs. To his surprise, Barn, Sigrid, and Tilda were all waiting in a small boat. Tilda smiled innocently. Brother Gaius, we all want to see your magic. The corner of the Thought Body's mouth twitched slightly, feeling like a street performer now, but he couldn't refuse a little girl's smiling face. Okay, but you don't need to get on the boat. The Thought Body put its right hand on the icy lake, and an icy blue magic circle appeared in front of them. White cold air emanated from the magic circle, and half of the lake below the house slowly froze, turning into a thick layer of ice. It's amazing, Bane murmured, and the eyes of Sigrid and Tilda shone with a strange brilliance. Seeing this, Bard breathed a sigh of relief. Aaron had such magical abilities, and even if Smaug came, he should be able to protect his 3 children. I will carve a high-level defensive magic circle on the ice layer, which can resist a dragon flame once. When Smaug comes, lie down within the range of the magic circle and pretend to be dead. Row out after the dust settles. Then why not add a defensive magic circle to the whole town? Tilda asked, puzzled. The Thought Body rolled his eyes and rubbed the little girl's head. My magic power is also limited. It can't cover the whole town, and even if it could, it wouldn't be wise. Smaug came to destroy Long Lake Town. As a result, the town was destroyed, but few people survived. People died. It will definitely theft in the problem by then, Tilda said, lowering her head, half understanding. This method can save people, but not many. Do you need me to do anything? Bard asked. In terms of materials. No need, the Thought Body interrupted. Novices need materials. I can use magic power to describe the magic circle, and the effect will not be much different. As the voice fell, the white inner magic ring and the basic mantra slowly formed on the ice, followed by the hexagonal star and the outer magic ring. The circular magic circle was drawn within half a minute and merged with the ice surface. It's not bad, Sinianti said, pinching his nose. Although it took a little longer, there is no flaw at all. Bon, Bard looked at his son. When Smog comes, you and your 2 younger sisters will hide under the house. You must protect them. Bon nodded solemnly. I understand, Father. Let's go to the bell tower and have a look. That place is our only position, Miss Neon said solemnly. I hope the wind crossbow is okay. Otherwise, I'll have to work hard to repair it. You can also repair the wind crossbow? Bard looked at Aaron unexpectedly. Don't think of me as an ordinary wizard, Neontai smiled meaningfully. I've also learned the repairing spell, let alone a wind crossbow. Even if the house is broken, I can repair it. The bell tower is in the center of Changhu town and is the tallest building in the town. The only wind crossbow was placed on the platform above the big clock, and only a few people could stand on it. This is the most conspicuous place in the whole town, and Smog will surely notice it, said Bard. That's up to you, sharpshooter. I will do my best to strengthen the defense of this bell tower, Miss Neon said, slowly raising his right hand and using his finger as a pen to draw the rune under the bell tower. With the entire tower as the core of the magic array, the magic energy in his body was continuously output to the array. 10 minutes later, the huge magic circle was hidden in the air, but everyone around Bard could feel the great sense of security contained in it. It's done. This is the pinnacle of my life, Neon said, letting out a long sigh of relief. This is the perfect ultimate defensive magic circle. Even Smog's dragon flame can be resisted once. Only once, Bard asked. What else do you want? Neon said unhappily. It would not be a problem for ordinary dragons to resist the dragon flame several times, but Smog is at the level of a dragon king. Its body is much taller than this clock tower, and it can burn it to ashes with just a sneeze. It is not easy for my magic circle to resist the dragon breath it spews out even once. No, I'm not dissatisfied, Bard explained with a smirk. It's just that if we could defend more times, we would have a better chance of winning. Cut! Neon glanced at him speechlessly. You can't be too greedy. I see, Bard said, but the matter is of great importance, and one cannot be too cautious when it comes to one's life. Fortunately, I was prepared, Neon said, taking out a magic crystal proudly. Behold, beautiful. Beautiful, Sigrid and Tilda kept nodding, their eyes fixed on the blue crystal, refusing to look away. Is this sapphire? Bard asked tentatively. I admit that it is very precious, but gems can't help. Although dragons like shiny things, such a small piece of treasure is nothing compared to the treasure of Lonely Mountain. Thought Body. What kind of eyes are they? Am I that vulgar? This is a magic crystal, which contains powerful magic power and can power the magic circle. The magic circle can keep running until its magic power is drained, Neon explained. Hearing this, Bard looked at the sapphire excitedly. How many times can it block the dragon flame? Well, this is the ultimate magic circle. I'm not sure, but it shouldn't be a problem 3 or 5 times, the thought body said thoughtfully, then let go of the magic crystal facing the clock tower. The blue crystal rose slowly, stopped at the top of the clock tower, and merged into it. The core of the magic circle glowed faintly. Are you ready? Bane asked. Of course not. This is just the most basic configuration. I also need weapons, spears, bows, and arrows. I have bows and arrows, but for spears, I only have a spear hook remodeled from an old harpoon. The missing body immediately thought of the top-quality weapons that Bard treasured, and a few clear black lines appeared on his face. Forget it. Let's make do with what we have, but the more, the better. Besides these, I need a small boat and a guide. I need to get familiar with all the houses, streets, and waterways in Changhu Town as soon as possible. I can help you, Bane volunteered, standing up. Is it to make it easier to fight the dragon? The missing body took a deep look at this boy, who was 2 or 3 years older than himself, and nodded after a moment of silence. If nothing else happened, in this battle, Bard, the archer, would be the main attacker, standing on the bell tower and shooting arrows. As a magician, he had to work harder, not only assisting but also attracting Smog's attention. If he couldn't even recognize the roads, he might get into a dead end if he wasn't careful. He couldn't use Phantom to escape every time. He didn't have much mana, and such consumption was unbearable. Bard returned to his house with his 2 daughters, first taking out the weapon package from under the boat, and then carefully checking the bow and arrows. Meanwhile, the missing body sat on a boat, and observed the not-so-beautiful scenery of Chenghu town. Bane patiently explained the length of the streets, where they led, and how many forks there were. The missing body listened and memorized, and a simple three-dimensional structure diagram emerged in his mind as time went by. Okay, I almost remember everything. Are you sure? Very sure. The missing body pointed to his head. My memory is beyond your imagination. A look of envy flashed in Bane's eyes, and he said, half understanding, Is there anything else I can do to help you? Leave the boat here. You can go back, the missing body said with a meaningful smile. I need to go around this town a few more times. After all, the opponent is a dragon, and it is necessary to make more preparations. Chapter 262, The Keyhole Appearing in the Moonlight. At dusk, Aaron returned to Bard's house, nearly collapsing as he entered the door. Seeing this, Sigrid hurriedly helped him to a chair. Why are you so pale? Asked Beaufort. My magic power is seriously overdrawn, Aaron explained weakly. He had been using his magic continuously for more than 10 hours, almost exhausting himself completely. What did you do? Bana asked, puzzled. You were fine when I left. That's a secret, Aaron replied, waving his hand dismissively. Please prepare some food and warm water for me. I'm not just tired, I'm utterly drained. Barn nodded and quickly fetched a plate of black bread and cheese sauce from the pantry. Aaron's mouth twitched, and a few lines of frustration appeared on his forehead. Do you have any idea what I need? Just feeding me this? What if I can't recover by nightfall? He thought. However, considering the Bard family's economic conditions, he decided to make do. Where's your father? Aaron asked. He's gone to the clock tower, Tilda replied anxiously. My dad will be fine, right? Yes, Aaron assured her with a confident smile. Your father will kill the dragon tonight and become the hero of the town, I promise. The three dwarves exchanged glances. If the prophecy was true and the dragon would come to Lake Town, it meant that Thorin and the others had failed to resolve the battle in the Lonely Mountain. Thorin, Beaufort hesitated. Will the expedition be successful? Of course. Gaius values the contract highly. I will help Thorin find the Arkenstone, and I will keep others safe. But none of you are in the Lonely Mountain. How can you guarantee it? Keely asked weakly. Don't underestimate the power of a wizard, Aaron replied with a mysterious smile. I have arranged everything. By the way, haven't you cured your poison yet? We'll have to wait until evening, Beaufort said, looking at the casserole. King's leaf grass needs to be boiled for a long time to get the purest liquid medicine. On the other side, the expedition team walked for a day and finally arrived at the ruins of Dale. Looking at the desolate town below, Bilbo asked in disbelief, What is this place? This is where the ancient city of Dale once stood, said Balin. Now it's just ruins, thanks to smog. This is the power of the dragon, Aaron sighed, feeling an increasing urge to activate the Dragon Slayer crystal. As long as he learned dragon-slaying magic, within 3 years he would be able to control this natural disaster-level destructive power. Before the sun goes down, we must find the secret door to enter the mountain, Thorin said, ready to move forward. Wait, Bilbo hastily stopped him. This is the place where the city is watched. Gandalf said to meet here. Don't go into the Lonely Mountain alone. Did you see him? Asked Thorin. We have no time to wait for the wizard. We're on our own. Let's go. Let's go. Aaron patted Bilbo's shoulder. Gandalf has probably been to the tomb of the Witch King of Angmar by now, but he will be entangled in more dangerous things later. That's why he's late. You know? Bilbo looked at Aaron in surprise. Aaron shook his head after pondering for a moment. I don't know for sure, but I can guess. In Rivendell, Gandalf discussed with the White Wizard and the 2 Elf Kings about their centuries-old enemy, an evil necromancer. I can only tell you that the situation is very complicated. If we get involved, we might drown in it. Then, is he in danger? Bilbo asked worriedly. Definitely, but when the sky falls, there will be someone tall to hold it up, Aaron said bluntly. He was more self-aware than anyone else, and knew it was better to focus on his own tasks rather than getting in the way. Bilbo was speechless, but knew he couldn't help. He could only silently offer his blessings. The expedition team continued their search for the entrance to the mountain. According to the map, the secret door should be right above us, but the search area is vast. Everyone's cattered and searched for over an hour without success. Thorin took out the map again. If the map is accurate, the secret door is directly above us. Up there, cried Bilbo, pointing to a statue of Thorin's grandfather, Thrain. The statue was enormous, with a stone staircase winding its way up. Sharp eyes, Master Baggins, Thorin said excitedly. He immediately called everyone to start climbing the stairs. They finally arrived at their destination just before sunset. This must be it, the hidden door, Thorin said, looking at the stone wall in front of him. The outline of the door was faintly visible, and he could hardly contain his joy. Thorin took out the key and shouted to the dwarves behind him, "Let those who doubted us regret it." The dwarves cheered. Their half-year expedition had not been in vain, and there was hope for the dwarf kingdom's rebuilding. "We have a key, which means there must be a keyhole somewhere," Devlin said, beginning to search the stone wall. As the afterglow of the setting sun bathed them, Thorin couldn't help but recite the moon letters on the map. "The last light of Durin's day will shine upon the keyhole." The contract will be completed soon, Aaron thought happily. Once the gate was opened, he could use Captain Jack's compass to find the legendary Arkenstone and complete his system task. However, as the sun slowly set, Dwalin still hadn't found the keyhole. Thorin began to lose his composure and asked Nori to help. Nori had the best observational skills among the dwarves. He put his ear to the stone wall and tapped it with a spoon, but the sounds he heard made him worried. "Quiet, I can't hear with all this noise," Nori said. "I can't find it," Dwalin said angrily, slamming his fist against the door. "It's not here, not at all." Thorin watched the sun set and the light gradually disappear. He couldn't take it anymore. "Break the door down," he ordered. A few dwarves took out their weapons, but the stone wall was so strong that even knives and axes only produced sparks. The weapons broke, but the wall remained unscathed. "It's useless. The door is sealed and cannot be opened by brute force," Balin said. "Let me try," Aaron said, stepping up to the stone wall. He chanted a spell, Alla Homora. Boom! A light yellow glow appeared on the stone wall, knocking Aaron back a few steps. "Damn!" Aaron cursed, but quickly calmed down. If the secret door didn't exist, there would be no need for such a powerful spell. The sun went down, and the last rays of daylight disappeared. The dwarves had not broken down the gate. "Impossible," Thorin murmured in disappointment, holding the map. "The last light of Durin's day will shine upon the keyhole. What are we missing?" The dwarves were silent, holding back their tears. "What are we missing, Balin?" Thorin asked, his voice choked with emotion. "The light is gone, and there's nothing we can do," Balin said heavily. "We only had one chance. Let's go, everyone." "Wait a minute," Aaron said, stopping everyone. "We can't leave. If you go, I can't complete the contract alone." He was only one step away from completing the first task of the system. If he gave up now, he would never forgive himself. "Fluorescent flashes," Aaron said, snapping his fingers. A bright light emerged from his hands, illuminating the stone wall and the disappointed faces of the dwarves. "Son, I know you're unwilling, but we are even more unwilling than you," Balin said, trying to comfort him. "But sometimes you have to accept reality." "That's nonsense," Aaron said angrily. "I only see that you have given up hope of rebuilding the dwarf kingdom too easily." "Thorin," Aaron said, looking at the despondent dwarf prince, "there is a powerful spell on the rock wall, which means we have found the right place. If you have the courage to keep trying, we can still find the keyhole. With the key, we will have the method to open the secret door. I'm so disappointed that you're leaving now because you can't find the keyhole." "That's right," said Bilbo, unable to resist. "We can't give up, at least not yet." Thorin sighed and raised his head slowly. "But we are already late." "Who told you we're late? Is today the day of During?" Aaron rolled his eyes in exasperation. "The ancestors of your dwarves drew this map, and the ciphertext on it can only be deciphered by the words of the moon. The text is still a riddle. Are you sure you understand it correctly?" Thorin opened his mouth, looked at the key in his hand thoughtfully, and felt a glimmer of hope in his heart. "Can you solve the riddle?" Thorin looked at Aaron expectantly, and the others also turned their eyes to him. "I can't," Aaron said, pouring cold water on everyone's hopes, "but this can." He took out Captain Jack's compass with some reluctance. "The price-performance ratio of this thing is even higher than the magic carpet, and I paid a lot to get it. It can point to what people desire most deep in their hearts. It is a true treasure." "You mean it can find the keyhole?" Devlin asked suspiciously. "Of course." Aaron opened the compass and placed it in Thorin's hand. "Try it!" Thorin swallowed, looking at the wobbly pointer on the compass, thinking he might be crazy to bet his hope on a toy. "But now, let's treat a dead horse as a living horse, Doctor. The keyhole of the secret door. The keyhole of the secret door." Thorin concentrated on the position of the keyhole, and the pointer on the compass turned rapidly, finally stopping, pointing to the lower left of the stone wall. At the same time, the bright moonlight cut through the clouds and shone on the stone wall. The light moved down slowly, also pointing to the position of the keyhole. "Keyhole," Barain said, looking at the black keyhole that appeared under the moonlight, almost bursting into tears. "Moonlight," murmured Bilbo thoughtfully. "So the riddle means the last moonlight in autumn." Thorin looked at the keyhole for a long time, unable to regain his senses. When he realized it, he loosened his grip, and Aaron took the compass back. "What are you doing in a daze? Open the door," Aaron urged. Thorin nodded slightly and inserted the key into the keyhole under the expectant eyes of all the dwarves. Chapter 263. After turning the key once, Thorin pushed open the secret door. "Erebor!" he exclaimed. Entering the hidden passage, Thorin was moved by the sight before him. "I recognize these walls, these halls, and these stones. Do you remember, Balin?" The room glittered with gold. "I remember," Balin nodded, tears welling in his eyes. Gloin looked at the murals on the wall. "This is the 7th kingdom of the Durin family. May the heart of the mountain unite all the dwarves to defend their homeland." "Is that the Arkenstone?" Aaron noticed an oval-shaped gem above the king's throne on the mural, emitting light in all directions. "Yes," Thorin confirmed. "It is the object of your quest." Bilbo and Aaron exchanged uneasy glances. They both felt a sense of trepidation as the moment of truth approached. Unsure if Smaug was still asleep, the dwarves dared not take risks. Balin, who knew Erebor best, led the way. "I know we're looking for a gem, but what does it look like?" Bilbo asked. "A large white gem," Balin replied. "That's it." Bilbo's eyes twitched slightly. "I think there must be a lot of gems down there. There is only one Arkenstone, and you will recognize it when you see it." "Don't worry," Aaron said confidently, raising the compass in his hand. "We can find it without recognizing it." Balin suddenly stopped and sighed. "To be honest, I don't know what you will see below. You can turn back if you want. There's no shame in it." "No, Balin," Bilbo said resolutely. "I promised to do it, and I must try." "I don't need to talk about it," Aaron grinned, showing a row of white teeth. "Our family values contracts highly, and I will find the Arkenstone. Also, remember, Thorin is not truly king of the mountain as long as Smaug is alive." "We understand," Balin nodded, "but the Arkenstone can unite the dwarf tribes, and the dwarf army may be able to defeat the dragon and reclaim Erebor." Aaron shrugged, thinking to himself that they wouldn't have the chance. The dragon's head was his. No one could take it from him. "Come on, Bilbo." Balin stopped them, speaking hesitantly. "If there is really a living dragon down there, don't wake it up." Bilbo swallowed hard, wanting to ask more questions, but Balin had already left. The two continued forward, keeping their footsteps as quiet as possible. "Bilbo, isn't your heartbeat a bit exaggerated?" Aaron said, exasperated. "Do you dare say you're not afraid or nervous? That's a legendary dragon. I haven't seen a dragon in my entire life, and maybe even Old Took hasn't seen one." "Calm down," Aaron smiled faintly. "With me here, you'll be fine. I can guarantee that." Bilbo's heart slowed a bit at this reassurance. After all, Aaron's abilities far surpassed his own, and as a mage, he provided a sense of security. Walking through the last door, Bilbo began to impose psychological hints on himself. He is not at home. He is not at home. He is not at home. The two stopped suddenly, gazing in amazement at the palace below. The dwarven hall was filled with gold coins, and all kinds of gems were scattered everywhere. "This is too spectacular," Bilbo rubbed his eyes in disbelief. "I've seen something more spectacular," Aaron said, though he was also a bit shocked. The dwarves' wealth almost rivaled his family's treasury. No wonder Smaug had occupied Erebor. Dragons are drawn to shiny things. With so much gold blatantly displayed, it was no wonder Smaug had taken it. "Can the compass find the Arkenstone?" Bilbo asked in a low voice. Aaron looked at the still pointer, then at the golden ocean below, a wry smile on his face. The direction can be determined, but there are too many gold coins below. We probably have to dig it out. Huh! Bilbo took a deep breath. Let's go down and see. Aaron didn't object. The first step was always the hardest, but before they could take that first step, the gold coins beneath their feet began to slide down with a crash. Damn! Aaron, I guess you don't need to dig out the gem to wake it up, Aaron said, exasperated. Shh! Bilbo immediately made a silent gesture, pointing to the needle on the compass and signaling Aaron to concentrate on digging for treasures without speaking. Aaron spread his hands and walked forward, following the pointer. The two walked slowly to the center of the hall, preparing to climb over a mountain of gold coins more than 10 meters high. Suddenly, the gold coins several meters away began to slide down. Aaron quickly dragged Bilbo to hide behind a pillar. What happened? Aaron stooped slightly and picked up a golden mirror. By its reflection, Bilbo saw a huge dragon's eye. Bilbo's heart beat faster, and a layer of cold sweat formed on his brow. Smaug, it's at home, Aaron nodded, intending to go around in another direction. After all, it is easy to have a heart attack when acting under the eyes of a dragon. But as soon as he turned around, the gold coins on the other side also slid down. Aaron gasped and hurriedly hid. Bilbo opened his arms in a daze, silently comparing the size of himself and Smaug, then squatted down humbly. At least 50 meters, Aaron said with a smile. It's bigger than any dragon I've ever seen. I'm definitely not its opponent in a head-on confrontation. The sound of gold coins falling was heard, and a pile of gold coins slowly slid down to the feet of the two from above. The cold vertical pupils suddenly opened, scanning everything within sight. Bilbo was so startled that he almost fell, but Aaron caught him in time to prevent exposure. The huge dragon's head slowly lifted from the gold coins, followed by the sound of heavy breathing. Smaug seemed to smell the breath of a stranger, and the corners of his mouth opened, revealing a mocking smile. Aaron and Bilbo looked at each other. One cast the disillusionment spell on himself, while the other decisively put on the magic ring, becoming invisible at the same time. Well, thief, Smaug looked at the pillar, his nostrils fluttering slightly. I can smell you, I can hear your breath, I can feel your presence. Where are you? Where are you? As the huge dragon head approached, Bilbo was so nervous that he ran away. Aaron didn't stand still either, and ran in another direction. Although Smaug couldn't see the two of them, he could judge their approximate location by the sound of their footsteps. Come out, don't be shy, show yourself. Smaug moved in Bilbo's direction mockingly. You're a little strange, it's something you brought, a thing made of gold, but even more precious. Bilbo was drenched in cold sweat, and Smaug's words made him trance. The terrible magic eye flashed in his mind. After recovering, he realized that he had taken off the ring, and then he saw the dragon's head close at hand. Here you are, thief in the shadows. What about the other one? Won't you come out and show your face? Hearing this, Aaron complained silently in his heart. You let me out, and I will go out? Wouldn't that be very embarrassing? Aren't you coming out? Smaug sneered, sniffing Aaron's scent and chasing after him. I'm familiar with the smell of humans. Do you think you can hide it? But you are special. You can hide your tracks even without the Lord of the Rings. Smaug's pupils fixed on the top of the pile of gold coins, as if sure Aaron was there. It took a deep breath, and a look of surprise flashed in the dragon's eyes. Who are you? Why do you have the same kind of breath? Unbelievable. There are other dragons in Middle-earth besides me. Similar? Aaron froze for a moment, shocked by Smaug's sense of smell. He and Abe had been separated for more than half a year, and Smaug could still smell it so clearly. Answer my question. Smaug slapped down with one paw, and a large number of gold coins and gems rained down. It was not easy for Aaron to remain invisible, so he reluctantly lifted the illusion curse. Still a child? Smaug was even more surprised, staring at Aaron meaningfully. How old are you? Even if you are 14 years old, Aaron said, neither confirming nor denying. Aaron approached Bilbo with a demeanor that was neither humble nor overbearing. He then turned his attention to Smaug. I'm curious, how old are you? Smaug responded coldly. I don't remember exactly, but I've lived since the First Era. Now, tell me about the other dragons, and I might spare you, Smaug demanded. Aaron hesitated, scratching his head. Well, there's Abe. He's at my house. I've raised him since he was born, so he should be almost 3 years old now. But he's not as big as you. He's less than 5 meters long. Smaug was momentarily stunned by this revelation, and even Bilbo was taken aback, his mouth twitching in disbelief. Raising a dragon? It sounded absurd. Impossible. Absolutely impossible, Smaug roared in anger. How can a noble dragon submit to a mere human? Aaron thought to himself, if we're talking about nobility, even the gods might not be as noble as I am. Out loud, he said, who knows? Maybe it has something to do with his personality. A smirk formed on Smaug's face. Charming personality? It doesn't matter. Dead people don't have much charm. Huh? You promised to spare me, Aaron protested. Innocent child, Smaug sneered, baring his fangs. Innocent children wouldn't have made it this far, Aaron retorted in a low voice. Smaug, who was about to devour him, suddenly halted. Dragon Whisperer? Smaug questioned. Dragon language, the language of dragons, Bilbo said in astonishment, looking at Aaron. You know the language of dragons? Of course. How else could I raise a dragon? Aaron replied confidently. Humph, Smaug snorted coldly. Get out of here before I change my mind. It's the only kindness I can offer you. Aaron yawned. Sorry, but I won't leave until I achieve my goal. Chapter 264. What's your purpose? Smaug's eyes gleamed with interest. Let's hear it, he said. Aaron froze, unsure how to respond. Should he say he wanted Smaug's life? That would surely provoke the dragon. Should he ask for the Arkenstone? That would be like trying to pull a tooth from a dragon's mouth. Sensing Aaron's hesitation, Bilbo quickly interjected, Smaug, your wealth is unparalleled. We merely wish to admire your majesty and see if you are as great as the ancient legends. We don't believe those stories. Before Bilbo could finish, Smaug stepped forward, emerging from the massive pile of gold coins, revealing his full, imposing form. What about now? Smaug asked. Bilbo's legs trembled as he took in the sight of the enormous dragon whose body spanned tens of meters, not counting the wings. Fighting the urge to faint, Bilbo stammered, It's true, the stories and songs don't do justice to your ferocity, Smaug the dragon. Indeed, Aaron murmured, equally awestruck. He wondered if his own dragon cub would grow to such a size, but he also noticed a small patch on Smaug's left chest that was not covered by scales, his Achilles heel. That's quite flattering, Smaug said. Since you're here with the Dragon Whisperer, I can spare your lives. That's great, Bilbo sighed in relief, but Smaug's next words made his heart race. But I need you to answer a few questions, Smaug sneered. You know my name well, but I have never smelled you before. Who are you, and where do you come from? Bilbo, Aaron said, showing Smaug the compass in his hand. The pointer directed them forward, suggesting that Smaug had brought the Arkenstone here. The two exchanged glances, Bilbo stalling for time and Aaron searching for the Arkenstone. I came from the bottom of the mountain, Bilbo said, trying to steady his breathing. I have traveled over countless mountains to get here. Admirable, Smaug said, circling Bilbo, causing the golden coins to shift and flow. Aaron noticed with dismay that the compass pointer was now shaking, indicating that the Arkenstone was on Smaug's body. Stealing from a dragon. How thrilling. What other names do you have? Smaug asked. I am the Lucky Carrier, the Riddle Maker, Bilbo replied. Lovely names. Go on, Smaug said, pressing his face close to Bilbo. The dragon's foul breath made Bilbo want to retch. The Barrel Rider, Bilbo added. Barrel, it's getting more and more interesting, Smaug laughed, his massive body shifting again. This time the compass pointed to the ground beneath them. Through a gap in the gold, they could see a faint milky white light, the Arkenstone. And what about your dwarf friends? Where are they hiding? Smaug asked. Dwarves. Bilbo feigned confusion. No, there are no dwarves here. You must be mistaken. I'm not mistaken, Smaug said, turning his gaze to Aaron. There have been very few dragon whisperers in the past few epochs, but each one is a wise prophet among humans, a genius with great learning talent. Aaron was taken aback. Ah, this! I'm flattered. Really flattered. Bilbo looked at Aaron with newfound realization. No wonder this kid knew so much and was so strong, a prophet, a wizard, certified by Smaug the dragon himself. Dragon Whisperer, you should know they are using you. They let you do the dirty work while they hide. Do not try to deceive me, nor attempt to steal anything here, or I will not spare even you, Smaug warned. You are so mistaken, mighty Smaug, Bilbo exclaimed respectfully. You are very polite for a thief and a liar, Smaug said bluntly. But I know the smell of dwarves better than anyone else, and I know they come for gold. They love gold, as flies love carrion, and I knew there would be a day when those hypocritical dwarves would come up the mountain. Smaug's paw came down, sending gold coins scattering. Coins scattered everywhere as the Arcane Gem appeared before them for the first time, only to slip down the steps the next moment. Bilbo instinctively wanted to chase after it, but Aaron held his arm tightly. Ah! Smaug looked at the two of them with amusement. It seems you have found the heart of the mountain. Are you here to help Oakenshield, that damned dwarven usurper, retrieve the Arkenstone? No, 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 Bilbo stammered hastily. Yes, Aaron shrugged, meeting Bilbo's puzzled gaze. Don't play games when you're on a mission like this. Dragons are not fools. They possess wisdom comparable to humans. Humph. I already suspected his conspiracy, but it doesn't matter. Oakenshield's plan will fail. Darkness is coming, flooding every corner of the world. The necromancer Sauron? Aaron inquired. You know? Smaug looked at Aaron with some surprise. Yes, of course you do. However, Sauron's power has not fully recovered. He can only regain his strength in Dol Guldur, but his vanguard will soon be on its way, and the Lonely Mountain is their first stop. Aren't you in the Lonely Mountain? Aaron asked, puzzled. How dare they come? Of course they don't dare, Smaug sneered. But I don't have to stop them, and I'm too lazy to do so as long as they don't touch my treasure. Oh, Aaron shook his head. Gandalf was right. You really will cooperate with them. Gandalf, when did the gray-robed wizard dare to meddle in my affairs? Who knows? The guardians of the world always seem to worry about everything. You are being used, Smaug joked. The cowardly Oakenshield has weighed your lives, and you are worth nothing. No, you're lying, Bilbo said, unable to resist. What did he promise you? A share of the treasure? As if the treasure was his. We know, Aaron chuckled lightly. We knew what we were getting into before we came. To be honest, the person next to me fainted from fear at the thought of seeing a dragon. But Thorin didn't hide anything from us. He allowed us to quit halfway, and just now, the dwarves advised us not to force ourselves. If we didn't want to continue, we could turn back without shame. Smaug was taken aback for a moment, then looked at the two meaningfully. To see Oakenshield suffering, I considered letting you take the gem, so I could watch it destroy him, devour his heart, and drive him mad. Hearing this, the two exchanged glances. Is the Arcane Gem so ominous? Aaron frowned. Thorin was considered a wise monarch before he got the heart of the mountain. But after he obtained it, he quickly became arrogant and felt superior, expecting everyone to come and congratulate him. If I hadn't taken Erebor, he might have waged war on the elves, for he wasn't going to return the white stones. Do you understand? The Arkenstone has no magical powers, but its influence may be more terrible than Sauron's One Ring. Aaron subconsciously looked at the ring on Bilbo's left hand. Is this the One Ring? What effect does it have? You'll see if you try it on, Smaug said seductively. But now I've changed my mind. The little game is over. The Arcane Gem is there. If you don't take it, you can leave safely. If you take it, I will. Gems come flying. Aaron decisively used the summoning charm, and the Arcane Gem flew out of a pile of gold coins into his hand. No, what are you kidding? The first system task is this broken rock. If he doesn't take it, the effort of half a year will be in vain. As an aspiring young man who is about to let his ideals soar, he can't swallow this defeat. And the second system task is to slay the dragon. Sooner or later, they will have to confront each other. Why be polite now? This is the Arcane Gem. Aaron smacked his lips. I heard it was dug out from the ground. The texture is okay to the touch, and it really looks big and white. But to put it bluntly, it's just a stone that shines. Aaron, Bilbo poked his arm. Aaron swallowed hard. I think we should run, right away. Boom. With one paw on a post, Smaug blocked the stairs with his massive body, squinting at the two of them. Have you made a choice? Obviously, Aaron replied, tossing the Arcane Gem in his hand. A contract signed willingly must be fulfilled. It's one of our family's ancestral mottos. It's a pity, Smaug sighed regretfully. A bright red light appeared in his abdomen, and the scorching heat extended to his neck. The dragon whisperer should be the most natural ally of the dragon, but you didn't seize the opportunity. Roar! Ferocious dragon flames spewed from Smaug's mouth. Aaron swung his right hand vigorously, and the gold coins beside him formed a golden torrent, striking Smaug's left cheek. The flame deflected more than 10 degrees, shooting to the left of the two. Even so, the scorching high temperature made their hearts race. Wizard, Smaug roared sullenly, his vertical pupils staring coldly at Aaron. Your magic is different from the others. Who are you? That's not important, Aaron said awkwardly. You're right, it really doesn't matter. Smaug retracted his neck and lunged at Aaron with incredible speed. Petrificus totalis! Aaron cast the petrification curse decisively, but the reddish light that hit Smaug's head only made him pause for a moment. Hey, this demon's resistance is too high, Aaron cursed under his breath. He quickly dragged Bilbo to narrowly avoid the dragon's fangs. It hurts a bit, like a woodpecker, Smaug sneered, but my armor is impregnable and invulnerable. I see, Aaron muttered to himself. He was still too weak. If his strength were greater, he might be able to cause some damage to Smaug. Smaug grinned, spread his wings slowly, and flapped them hard. A huge storm hit their faces, blowing them dozens of meters away and landing them on a pile of gold coins. Ha-ha! Aaron quickly got up, unable to hold back a smile. I am so satisfied with this dragon. You can still laugh? Think about what to do, Bilbo exclaimed. What can we do? I've already got what we came for, so of course we run away, Aaron said, casting a disillusionment charm on himself. He only had half of his magic power left, and wasn't foolish enough to confront Smaug head-on. Seeing this, Bilbo hurriedly put on the One Ring and carefully moved in the direction they had come from. Chapter 265, Orc Night Attack, Dwarf Guardhouse, Long Lake Town. Borg led a group of orcs slowly forward on the rooftops, carefully searching for their target. Without a boat, they had been delayed by the vast lake for a long time, but they had finally caught up. The dreadful dwarf is near. I can smell it, Borg muttered, following the scent of the dwarves. He continued to sift through numerous houses, narrowing the search to the vicinity of Bard's home. Inside the room, Beivor looked at the steaming casserole with boredom. Keely, just hold on for a few more minutes, and it will be ready soon. Thank you, Keely nodded weakly. Let me go and see my father, Sigrid said, holding a piece of clothing. I'm a little worried about him guarding the bell tower. However, as soon as she walked to the door, Aaron's missing body grabbed her right hand that was opening the door. You, Sigrid blushed slightly, but before she could say anything, the thought body dragged her back. Something is not quite right, the thought body said solemnly, glancing at everyone in the room. Bon, you and your two younger sisters hide under the table and protect them. Beaufort, hold your weapons and guard your curiosity. Has the dragon come? Beaufort asked. It's not Smaug, but it's not much better, the thought body replied seriously. I heard the sound of dense footsteps. The nearest one is above our heads. Everyone froze for a moment. Barn and the others didn't understand, but the three dwarves realized who the enemy was. After the three siblings hid, the thought body picked up a long sword and walked slowly to the door. Without any surprise, an orc roared and rushed over the moment the door was opened. Puff! The thought body stabbed him in the chest with a sword, then kicked him into the lake and quickly closed the door. Bad news. We're surrounded, he said. As soon as the words were finished, the back door was suddenly knocked open, and a half-orc rushed in with a dagger. At the same time, 3 orcs jumped in from the roof, one after another. Sigrid and Tilda were terrified and screamed when they saw the fierce and ugly orcs appearing in their house this way. Beaufort stood by Killy's bed with an axe, and Beaver stood by the table with a hammer. Protect them! The thought body quickly raised the sword and stepped forward, facing 4 orcs without losing ground. When he trained at home, there were always 10 starters, and the mere 4 half-orcs were all eliminated in less than half a minute. The 3 siblings were dumbfounded, looking at Aaron in disbelief. They could barely kill fish, but he could already kill half-orcs, and 5 at that. Don't be distracted. Our current situation is still very dangerous, the thought body warned. After a while, another wave of half-orcs rushed in, not only doubling their number, but also increasing in ferocity. The thought body couldn't handle everything, and the melee was imminent. Fortunately, unexpected reinforcements appeared at this time. The two elves, Toriel and Legolas, joined the battlefield, greatly relieving the pressure on everyone. The orcs were killed one after another, and one of them jumped onto a wooden boat on the lake through the back door, informing Borg about the situation inside the house. "The oak shield is not here," the orc reported. Borg growled sullenly, feeling unwilling, but the main target was not there, and he didn't want to waste his troops in vain. "Retreat! Gather on the bridge," Borg ordered without hesitation. However, the orc who delivered the message was not so lucky. Legolas, standing on the bow, lifted him up and used his pair of knives as scissors to cut off his head. "It's so cruel," the thought body pouted, but no amount of cruelty can be overstated when dealing with orcs. "Are they all dead?" Bane asked. "Of course not. There are at least dozens of them outside," the thought body said helplessly. "We are lucky. Borg's goal is Thorin. Otherwise, a hard fight would be inevitable." "We can't let them get away," Bane insisted. Legolas watched the retreating orcs. "Toriel, let's chase them." "Wait a moment," a voice stopped him. The figure extended his right hand. "You should return my wand. Smaug will attack Laketown tonight, and I need my weapons." "Dragon?" Legolas was skeptical. "Are you sure?" "That's what the prophecy says. I and the descendants of the former mayor of Laketown are prepared to deal with it. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't return it to me. I am proficient in casting spells without a wand, but I always feel a little uncomfortable without something in my hand." Legolas hesitated for a moment, then took out two wands, one black and one white, from the back of his waist. "Whether what you say is true or not, my father's." "I'll fix it," the figure assured him. "That's good. Toriel, let's go." Toriel hesitated, her eyes lingering on the injured Killy. She struggled for a moment before deciding to leave. Seeing the affection and reluctance in Killy's eyes, the figure spoke again. "Your Highness, can you lend me Toriel for one night?" "What did you say?" Legolas glared fiercely, his left hand already on the quiver behind his back. If Aaron didn't give him a reasonable explanation, he wouldn't hesitate to act. "Don't get me wrong," Aaron said quickly. "I just want her to protect the three brothers and sisters. Their father and I will fight Smaug in the Belfry, and they may not be there. So, don't let the warrior down." "Toriel, what do you think?" Legolas asked. Toriel sighed, then nodded. Legolas was not surprised by her decision and was about to leave immediately to hunt down the orcs alone. "Hold on," Aaron called out. Legolas staggered and looked at Aaron unhappily. "Can you finish what you have to say at once?" Aaron smiled awkwardly but politely. "I don't need her now. Just wait until you come back after hunting down the orcs." Legolas froze for a moment, his mood improving. "Let's go." After the two elves left, Aaron walked up to Killy with a look of disgust. "I helped you save an elf. Is there anything you want to say to me?" "Thank you," Killy said gratefully, holding Aaron's hands. "Brother, you will be my real brother from now on." The corner of Aaron's eye twitched. "Why didn't I realize you were so brazen before?" The Lonely Mountain, Erebor. Aaron and Bilbo ran to the corner of the stairs, breaking their invisibility at the same time. As expected of the last dragon in Middle-earth, this destructive power is truly terrifying. Aaron quietly stretched out his head and saw Smaug washing the ground with dragon flames. He couldn't help but click his tongue in awe. "Never mind that. Escaping is the most important thing," Bilbo said anxiously, pulling Aaron up the steps. But after running to the second platform, they ran into Thorin, who was out of breath. "Are you still alive?" Bilbo asked. "Not for long. The dragon is coming," Thorin replied. "Have you found the Arkenstone?" "Good luck," Aaron nodded and walked towards the passage behind Thorin. Ding! A sword stopped in front of the passage. Thorin blocked their way and said coldly, "The Arkenstone." Aaron frowned. At first, he thought Smaug was exaggerating, but now it seemed the Arkenstone could indeed affect people's hearts. "Let's get out of here," Bilbo suggested. Thorin pointed his sword directly at Bilbo, forcing him to step back. "Give it to me." That gem, actually." Bilbo began to explain, but he was interrupted by a low breathing sound not far away. The three of them turned around, just in time to meet a pair of cold, vertical pupils. Smaug had found them. The crimson light of his abdomen was clearly visible in the dimly lit palace, extending up his long neck. At that moment, the rest of the dwarves came running out of the passage, lining up to face the dragon. "I'll burn you to death," Smaug growled, taking a few steps towards the group. "Run!" Everyone jumped down the steps immediately, narrowly avoiding the ferocious crimson flames. There happened to be a passage entrance under the steps, and everyone quickly entered it without a moment's hesitation. Boom! Smaug aimed his mouth at the ceiling and spewed dragon flames. The flames spread widely, and Thorin, who was the last to pass through the passage, was caught by the dragon flames, setting his clothes on fire. "A clear spring is like water," Aaron chanted, conjuring a stream of water to douse the flames on Thorin. With the fire extinguished, everyone proceeded cautiously along the passage, turning several corners until they reached a long corridor. "We got rid of it," said Dory in a low voice. "No," Dwalin shook his head. "It's cunning." "Where are we going now?" asked Bilbo. "To the guardhouse to the west," Thorin replied. "There may be a way of escape there." "It's too high up there. There's no way to escape," Balin objected. "That's our only chance. We have to give it a try," Thorin insisted, leading everyone to tiptoe up the corridor. When they reached the guardhouse, they were met with a grim sight. Corpses covered in cobwebs were everywhere. The exit was blocked by boulders, and dozens of dwarves had starved to death here. Even a few babies' remains could be seen. "The bones of our compatriots," Balin said in a heavy voice. "They must have come here with great hopes." "Shocking. This is the price of hope turning into despair," Aaron murmured, pursing his lips. "There should be no other way here, or there is only one way we can go. We must go back and kill Smaug." "All of us are no match for it," Dwalin said. "We can hide here for a few days, but if we go out, we will probably die from the flames," Balin added. "That's better than waiting to die here," Aaron argued, spreading his hands. "If you fight to the death, you still have a chance to survive. But if you stay here, you will definitely die. You and your fellow dwarves will remain in this hopeless place forever as mummified corpses." "But I am sure I will not die. You may not believe it, but this place is not a desperate situation for me." Bilbo believed in Aaron. He had seen Aaron's magic, and if anyone could escape from Smaug, it must be him. Chapter 266, The Awakening of the Dwarf Prince. Sorin, Aaron leaned against the wall, looking at him meaningfully. "What are you going to do? Before Gandalf left, he asked me to protect you. My answer is within my ability. If you choose to stay here and die, I will take Bilbo and escape, as I have promised his safety." "Thank you," Bilbo said, his nose twitching in gratitude. "But if you choose to fight Smaug to the death, I will fight by your side and do my best to keep everyone alive," Aaron continued. Sorin looked at the bones scattered across the floor, his expression dazed. "I won't die like this, curled up and struggling. We lure Smaug to the furnace and fight him to the death." "Have you decided?" Aaron asked with a smile. Thorin nodded and looked at the 9 dwarves following him. "Let's split up and lead it to the furnace. If everything is destined to burn, then we will also go to the fire together." Clap, clap, clap! As expected of a dwarf prince, it takes a lot of courage to make this decision, Aaron applauded. "Thorin Oakenshield, you have not let me down." With that, Aaron took out the Arkenstone and suspended it in midair with a levitation spell. The milky white light illuminated the dim guard room, and the dwarves gazed at the beautiful king's gem with reverence. "The Arkenstone," Sorin murmured incredulously. "You have it." Aaron shrugged. He never said he didn't get it. "I don't think there should be anything more morale-boosting than this at this time." "Indeed, there isn't," Thorin said, stretching out his right hand excitedly, only to find he couldn't touch it. Snap! Aaron snapped his fingers, and the Arkenstone fell into his hand. "Sorry, I can't give it to you just yet." "Why?" Thorin glared. "It should be mine." "That's right, the Arkenstone is yours," Aaron acknowledged, but then added, "But Smaug said that the Arkenstone will eat your heart." "Do you believe the words of an evil dragon? But you drew your sword against us for this stone." Thorin was speechless for a moment. He had been impulsive and shouldn't have drawn his sword on his friends. However, the status of the Arkenstone among the dwarves was akin to the jade seal of the kingdom, crucial for his legitimate claim to the throne, and there was no room for loss. "If it's because of this, I apologize to you," Thorin said. "It's all right," Bilbo smiled. "We understand the importance of the Arkenstone to you. It may be more important than your life." But because of this, we are worried about whether you will become another person because of this stone, Aaron said earnestly. His concern was not unfounded. Soren's stubbornness was rare, and a prince who had been down for half his life, becoming a king with great wealth overnight, could undergo a huge change. He might even surpass his grandfather Thror in his obsession. I won't, Thorin shook his head slowly. I promise. Hearing this, Aaron hesitated for a moment before putting the Arkenstone into his pocket. The rest of the group watched his actions in astonishment, and Thorin felt even more betrayed. The atmosphere had been set. Shouldn't Aaron give him the gem, and then they would all work together to slay the dragon? I'll give it to him, but after it's safe, Aaron said, embarrassed. After all, I'll be close to death. If something happens to Soren, I'll give this stone to Killy. Gaius, Dwalin looked at him angrily. This is not appropriate. Aaron raised his eyebrows and brought the gem to Soren. You make the decision. Thorin reached out and touched the Arkenstone, a struggle flashing in his eyes. He was silent for a long time before looking at Aaron solemnly. I will leave it to you for safekeeping. If I die, give it to Philly, and if Philly dies, give it to Killy so that he can inherit the throne. Balin, Dwalin, you. Needless to say, Soren, Balin pretended to be relaxed and smiled. My old bones may die before you, but there is one thing. My loyalty to the king will not change. King loyalty, Dwalin vowed, and the others nodded silently. Thorin then divided the team into 4 groups, each leaving the guard room in groups of 3. Aaron, however, offered to act alone, secretly ensuring everyone's safe arrival at the furnace. Thorin led Bilbo and Balin through the passage from the front, and as expected, they were discovered by Smaug. Run! Run for your lives! You have nowhere to hide, a voice boomed. A neck tens of meters long emerged from the darkness, and a huge dragon head appeared before them. Look behind you, little bugs, Smaug taunted. The 3 dwarves shouted, drawing Smaug's attention, and slipped through a doorway. Smaug roared and lunged at them. Hey, over here! Dwalin yelled. Seeing Smaug look away, he pulled Philly and Nori into a run. Smaug was about to give chase when 2 more dwarves ran past him. Enraged, the dragon spewed fiery breath, forcing the 2 to flee and jump into a cable car to escape the flames. With no one around, Smaug sniffed the air and chased in the direction of Thorin Oakenshield. In a wide corridor, Thorin kept running, not noticing the entrance to the smelting room. This way, Thorin, cried Bilbo. Thorin heard and reacted immediately, but before he could move, Smaug appeared at the end of the corridor, preparing to unleash his dragon's breath. Realizing he couldn't outrun the flames, Thorin told Bilbo to follow Balin and then jumped into the mineshaft, barely dodging the dragon's fire. Thorin dragged the seat under the mineshaft and kept falling. Before he could recover, Smaug was after him, squeezing into the mineshaft. Just as the dragon was about to bite Thorin, Dwalin chopped down a minecart with an axe, causing the seat Thorin was holding to pull him up quickly, narrowly escaping the dragon's jaws. Seeing this, Smaug turned and bit the rope holding the seat as Thorin rose. Tsk, I have to admit, the mining technology of dwarves is quite impressive. Aaron's voice came from the side. Thorin turned his head and saw Aaron sitting on another seat, leisurely swinging in the mine. Thorin, you look like you need some help. Don't talk nonsense, Thorin yelled. Okay, Aaron replied, extending his index finger at Smaug. Bone to pieces. Boom, a reddish light hit the dragon's mouth, causing Smaug to feel a sharp pain and subconsciously open his mouth, releasing Thorin. Smaug, however, looked at Aaron meaningfully. Dragon Whisperer, your magic is unique, but unfortunately, you are too weak. It's normal. After all, I'm only 14 years old, Aaron smiled shyly. If I were 40, I would kill you in minutes, believe it or not? Unfortunately, you won't have that chance, Smaug said, opening his mouth to unleash his fiery breath. Aaron immediately stretched out his right hand, and an ice-blue magic circle appeared in front of him. A thick stream of water gushed out, pouring into Smaug's mouth before the flames could spray out. The dragon's breath was forced to stop, and Smaug choked, spitting out a large amount of white steam. Damn you! Smaug roared angrily, raising his paw to strike. Aaron! Thorin and the others above shouted in anger. Swish! A black and white vortex appeared, and Aaron fell next to them. What do you want me to do? You, Dwalin stammered, looking between Aaron and Smaug below. Magic, Aaron explained casually. It's just hard to understand. The magic of teleportation, Thorin muttered, his eyes twitching slightly. He had known about wizards when he was a dwarf prince, but he had never heard of such incredible methods. Aaron shrugged. Few people can learn it. I am a rare genius in the Gaius family, so... That's a different matter. Roar, Smaug growled from deep within the mine. Where are you? Dragon Whisperer, where are you? Hearing this, Thorin and the few dwarves beside him looked at Aaron with complicated expressions. You can speak dragon language? Thorin asked. When you travel the world, it's good to have a few extra skills, Aaron replied with a sneer. Gandalf found us a good teammate, Thorin sighed. He glanced at Smaug, who was still searching for someone in the mine, and decisively pushed down the lifting equipment beside him. The equipment fell quickly, striking Smaug on the neck. Let's go. It won't hold him for long. Wait a minute, Aaron said. He looked into the deep mine, slowly waved his arms, and a large ice-blue magic circle covered the mine. Half a minute later, a huge ice block fell from the magic circle and smashed straight into the depths of the mine. Boom! The sound of the heavy object hitting the skull was clearly heard, followed by the angry roar of the dragon. If you throw a few more, maybe you can smash it to death, Philly suggested. Brother, we don't have enough time, and my magic power is limited, Aaron replied. As he spoke, ferocious flames surged up from the depths of the mine. Go quickly, Thorin roared, leading everyone into the smelting room. Everyone gathered there, but they were disappointed to see the cold furnace. This plan won't work. The furnace is cold, Devlin said regretfully. He's right. We don't have a fire to light the furnace, Balin added bitterly. That's not necessarily the case. I can use the flame curse, Aaron said. Burning flames, he chanted, pointing to the furnace. A crimson flame fell into it. Boom, boom, boom. The first huge furnace was successfully ignited, followed by the second and then the third. Fierce flames rose from all the furnaces, and the extremely high temperature slowly melted the gold ore into a pure golden liquid. Chapter 267, The Most Valuable Dragon in History, Golden Smaug. Well done, Gaius, Thorin said, patting Aaron's arm. He then turned to the others. Bomber, make the fire burn hotter. Bomber immediately jumped to the open space in front of the furnace and pulled the chain. The blower started to pump air into the furnace, causing the flames to turn a light blue. Bilbo, get up there and do what I say. Pull that switch, Thorin instructed. Following Thorin's direction, Bilbo climbed to the switch of the water wheel, ready to act. Balin, can you still make flash fire? Thorin asked. Yes, it will only take a moment, Balin replied. He immediately took two dwarves into the rear warehouse, where all the necessary materials were stored. At this time, Smaug crawled out of the mine and found everyone in the smelting room. The huge iron door was quickly torn open under his sharp claws. We're running out of time, Dwalin murmured. I'll buy us some time, Aaron volunteered, but there's not much time to buy. Thorin nodded. Everyone else, get ready to respond. Aaron took a deep breath, stepped up to the huge iron gate, and gave Smaug a broad smile. Wizard, Smaug sneered, looking at him. Not gray, not brown, not white, not blue. Who are you? Aaron Gaius, Aaron replied, giving a brief salute. Just an ordinary magister. No, my strength is not complete now, and I may not even be considered a magister. Be different, Gaius the Dragon Talker. You have the potential to be stronger than those 5 wizards. It's only a matter of time before you surpass them. I think so, Aaron said. No, you don't understand me, Smaug said seductively. You can be the strongest wizard there is. There's no need to help a mean dwarf. The combination of dragon and dragon whisperer, no one can resist. You can become a great king, the real overlord. Humans, elves, and dwarves will all respect you. Even that necromancer respects you somewhat. Everyone, including Balin, who was equipped with flashfire, looked at Aaron in astonishment. No one could have imagined that he had such potential, and no one could have imagined that the dragon would express such rare kindness. But everyone was more worried about whether Aaron could withstand this temptation. Although Aaron's performance had been extremely mature, and no one could find any faults, it was undeniable that he was only a teenager. What if a child lost his temper? Ha ha! Aaron couldn't help but laugh, covering his stomach. It's interesting, so interesting. If you draw another big pie to tempt me, maybe I will agree. But when I left home, The elders in my family specifically told me that I must not have the intention of ruling, otherwise I would be expelled from the family. Are you trying to make me homeless, or do you want me to betray my relatives? Smog. Crowd. That's out of the question, Smog shook his head. It's a pity you made the wrong decision. Boom. Smog slammed harder on the iron gate. Armor protection. Aaron cast an armor spell on himself and then began to draw a magic circle. A yellow-brown star appeared in midair and stuck to the iron gate. The circular magic circle slowly rotated, mobilizing the earth elements to reinforce the iron gate and coat it with a thick layer of rock. Smog grinned sarcastically, turning his head to spew violent flames. Roar. The magic circle only lasted for a second before it was shattered. Aaron immediately drew a mid-level defensive magic circle in front of him. Coupled with the defensive power of the iron armor curse, it barely blocked the aftermath of the dragon flame. But even so, he was pushed back more than 10 meters by the flames. Sure enough, the intermediate magic circle is just unreliable, Aaron muttered, patting the dust off his body and standing up, a little embarrassed. Now you are too weak. You can't even stop me from sneezing, Smog taunted, violently tearing open the iron gate and entering the smelting room. Aaron backed away slowly, but Smog pressed on step by step, his belly glowy, red. It's over, young dragon whisperer, Smog declared. Here, Thorin yelled suddenly. Smog looked at him instinctively. Oakenshield, I'll deal with you first, the dragon growled. Pull. At Thorin's command, Bilbo jumped up and pulled the switch. The stone statues on the wall spewed great streams of water, hitting Smog directly and extinguishing the flames in his chest. White steam emanated from Smog's body, causing him discomfort and making him writhe restlessly. Relieved, Thorin watched as Smog glared at him coldly and began to move slowly towards him. Bomber worked hard to pull the iron chain of the blower, causing the blue flame to burn fiercely. The gold ore in the furnace was completely melted. Balin and the others ran out of the warehouse, distributing the prepared flashfire to the other dwarves. The flashfire hit Smog, emitting a strong light like a flashbang, but it failed to attract his attention. Aaron looked up at the rows of minecarts hanging above and decisively cast a few spells. The minecarts full of ore and their cables barely held back Smog's advance. When Smog finally freed himself from the ropes, Thorin immediately pulled an iron chain, causing several furnaces to open simultaneously. The molten gold flowed out along the channels, quickly gathering and moving in one direction. Lead him to the corridor of kings, Thorin shouted, pushing a minecart into the boiling liquid gold and rowing it like a boat into a low tunnel. The other dwarves scattered and rushed to the corridor of kings. Aaron was about to follow when he heard Bilbo calling. Smog's movement had shattered the ground where Bilbo was standing, causing him to fall. As soon as Bilbo raised his head, his eyes met Smog's by the furnace. Before he could react, Aaron ran to his side and dragged him down a slope, avoiding the dragon's sharp claws. Run, don't stop, Aaron urged. Bilbo followed closely behind him. They had barely reached the back of the Hall of Kings when there was a roar, and Smog burst through the wall. In desperation, Aaron pulled the hobbit behind him and hid behind a pillar. Do you think you can fool me? You are from Long Lake, part of the plot of those hideous dwarves and the wretched people of Long Lake, those wailing cowards with longbows and black arrows. Maybe I should pay them a visit, Smog sneered, planning to destroy Long Lake Town first. Hearing this, Aaron frowned. Although he didn't know why Smog's guess was so accurate, it didn't conflict with his original plan. However, before that, they needed to weaken Smog's combat power as much as possible, or even injure him. It's not their fault, Bilbo jumped out suddenly. Wait, you can't go to Lake Town. Aaron slapped his forehead in exasperation and followed Bilbo out, fearing the hobbit would be burned to ashes by Smog's dragon breath. You care about them, don't you? Smog turned around meaningfully. Then watch them die. Wait, Aaron sighed. If you go to Long Lake Town, you will die. Bilbo rolled his eyes, knowing it was futile. Smog would never believe them. Sure enough, Smog laughed loudly. You think you can scare me with that? I will make the humans there feel what a disaster truly is. Here, Thorin called from atop a gigantic statue. You ignorant wretch, I will reclaim what you stole. You will take nothing back, dwarf. Smog approached slowly. I defeated your old warriors and planted fear in the hearts of men. I am the king of the mountain. This is not your kingdom. This is the land of the dwarves, and this is the gold of the dwarves. We want revenge. Thorin cried, tugging at the chain beside him. Come out! The other dwarves behind the stone statue pulled the chains in their hands simultaneously. The locks on the stone statue fell off one by one, and the rock surface quickly shattered. A huge golden statue loomed before Smaug's eyes. The image of Thorin's grandfather, Thror, poured out of freshly baked gold solution. Smaug looked at the golden statue standing shoulder to shoulder with him. The bright Elden light blurred his vision, and he couldn't. As Smaug approached the golden statue, admiring its splendor, the eyes of the statue suddenly burst open, releasing a torrent of hot golden liquid. Smaug was momentarily stunned, unable to comprehend what was happening. In an instant, other parts of the statue also began to burst, and within seconds, the entire golden statue melted almost completely. The molten gold splashed onto Smaug, submerging him in the blink of an eye. Smaug screamed in agony, struggling briefly before sinking into the pool of molten gold that now filled the hall. An excited smile spread across Thorin's face. So what if Smaug's scales are invulnerable? This pool of gold is at least 1,000 degrees. It has to burn him to death, he thought. Did it work? Bilbo asked in a deep voice. No, Aaron replied solemnly. I can still hear a heartbeat in the pool. Smaug is still alive. The next moment, Smaug emerged, roaring furiously. His body was now plated with gold, gleaming without any imperfections. This is definitely the most valuable dragon in history, bar none, Aaron said, staring in shock at the golden Smaug. He had never imagined a dragon could look so dazzling. Revenge, revenge! I will show you the meaning of revenge, Smaug roared, dragging his golden body out of the main entrance, leaving a trail of golden liquid in his wake. Thorin watched in disbelief as Smaug left, a sense of powerlessness washing over him. After smashing open the city gate, the evil dragon soared into the sky, spinning a few times in midair to shake off the remaining golden solution. Then it flew towards Long Lake Town. What have we done? Bilbo murmured, filled with remorse. Perhaps they should not have disturbed the dragon's rest. The prophecy is about to be fulfilled, Aaron said, patting Bilbo on the shoulder. Long Lake Town will be devastated. We did it, Bilbo said, his eyes blank. This day would have come even without us, Aaron replied in a deep voice. Bard gave those townspeople a chance to choose, but they all chose gold without exception. Now it's time for them to pay for their greed. Chapter 268, The Contract is Completed, Facing the Dragon. Aaron walked up to Thorin and took out the Arkenstone. Now it's time to fulfill the contract. The Arkenstone, Thorin said, swallowing with difficulty. 1/15 of Erebor's treasure is my reward. No problem? Aaron asked. Thorin smiled bitterly. Is there any point in saying this now? Of course, Aaron replied firmly. Gaius, Master Baggins, I am grateful to Gandalf for recommending you two as companions. Without you, we might have perished on the expedition long ago. Reaching the Lonely Mountain, opening the secret door, and surviving would have been impossible. It is my honor to have friends like you, but I still have to say sorry. The contract may not be completed for the time being. Smaug is alive, and he will not give up the riches of Erebor. I can't give it to you, even if I wanted to. It doesn't matter what it thinks. What matters is your decision, Aaron said, raising the Arkenstone, which emitted a milky white light. 1/15 of the treasure. What time is it, and you're still thinking about money? Bilbo looked at Aaron angrily. Lake Town will be destroyed soon. Aaron ignored Bilbo and looked at Thorin solemnly. Whether you can get the treasure from the dragon is another matter. You just need to tell me whether you are willing to admit that 1/15 of Erebor's wealth is mine. Thorin looked at the Arkenstone in Aaron's hand and nodded silently. They were no match for Smaug, but as long as they succeeded to the throne, they could muster an army of dwarves and surely kill the dragon to reclaim Erebor. Then, Aaron placed the Arkenstone in Thorin's hands. The contract is completed. After speaking, he focused on the first system task. Complete the contract with the dwarves, reward 1,000 magic points, and decisively receive the 1,000 magic points. Aaron, Bilbo said, shaking his head speechlessly. Don't forget, Smaug is not dead yet. It will die soon, Aaron said meaningfully. I have made arrangements, and Lake Town is where Smaug will be buried." "What are you kidding?" Bilbo asked incredulously. "If you don't believe me, we can find a place to watch the battle. If nothing else, it won't see the sun tomorrow morning," Aaron replied confidently. The crowd was silent, processing Aaron's words. "Here we come." Aaron's thought body opened its eyes and turned to look at Toriel. "Take them to hide downstairs, and don't leave the range of the magic circle." Looking at the flames on the lonely mountain, Beaufort couldn't help feeling worried. "I hope Thorin and the others are all right." "They are still alive. None of them are dead, not even injured," Aaron reassured. "How do you know?" Keeley asked, puzzled. "Don't underestimate a wizard. I am the best heir of the Gaius family in 100 years, Aaron's thought body said proudly. "You should go now. I can't take care of you from here on." "Aaron," Bard called him. "I'll leave my dad to you." Aaron's thought body made an okay gesture, then turned to look at the clock tower outside the window and apparated there. Everyone in the house widened their eyes in astonishment when they saw Aaron disappear suddenly. The Barn brothers and sisters were all right. They had seen the magic circle today and soon came to their senses. Toriel had also seen the power of the Patronus charm in Mirkwood and could barely accept Aaron's way of moving. The three dwarves, however, looked at each other in confusion. They had traveled together for more than half a year and seemed to have never truly understood Aaron. His mystery seemed to have no upper limit. "Let's go!" Toriel picked up her bow, arrow, and weapon, leading the 6 people in the house to hide in the defensive magic circle under the house. Bell Tower. Aaron's thought body teleported to Bard's side, startling him. "Do you, wizards, still have this kind of means?" Bard asked, astonished. "You don't know the half of it," Aaron's thought body shrugged. "How are you preparing?" Bard took a deep breath and looked at the oppressive black shadow getting closer on the horizon. A firm look settled on his solemn face. "The black arrow has been installed on the windlance." The crossbow was a powerful weapon, but it couldn't be used recklessly. Once Smaug was on guard, killing him would become infinitely more difficult. The doppelganger nodded in agreement, having received the main body's memories. Smaug was not only immensely powerful, but also shrewd. No matter how careful they were, they couldn't be too cautious. The residents of Lake Town emerged from their homes upon hearing the dragon's roar. The fire on the lonely mountain rekindled their long-lost fear. As they saw the evil dragon approaching, they finally realized the impending disaster Lake Town would face. The dragon's figure hovered in the dark clouds, and the howling wind sounded like death's scythe. Some elderly residents who had witnessed Smaug's power before trembled in fear, the shadow of doom filling their hearts. Faced with imminent death, the townspeople abandoned their desire for gold and fled in panic. The few wooden boats became highly sought after, and the river became crowded. Those who couldn't board a boat hid in the corners of their homes, praying they wouldn't be noticed by the dragon, or they jumped into the icy lake, desperately swimming to the other side. If they had known this would happen, they might have acted differently. Bard sighed helplessly. "Don't feel guilty. This is the price they pay for making poor decisions," the doppelganger said indifferently. "Stupid people always die the fastest. This day was inevitable, but they chose to ignore it. I actually admire you. Living next to an evil dragon for so many years takes unparalleled luck." "We really had nowhere else to go," Bard replied with a self-deprecating laugh. "That's nonsense," the doppelganger scoffed. "If you wanted to leave, you could have. You can't blame anyone but yourselves." "Is that your mayor?" the doppelganger asked, looking meaningfully at a boat filled with gold. The mayor and Alfred were on it, commanding a few guards to row away. Bard turned away in disgust, feeling ashamed. Having such a mayor was the biggest disgrace for the residents of Lake Town. Excellent, he still has so much money with him at this time. But at this speed, everyone will have escaped before they even row out of the river, the doppelganger remarked. The next moment, the mayor kicked one of his lackeys into the river, reducing the boat's weight. The corners of the doppelganger's mouth twitched slightly as he turned to look at Bard, who had an equally incredulous expression. "Do you feel particularly happy?" Bard opened his mouth to respond, but Smaug flew down, roaring. The fierce dragon flame instantly destroyed a corner of Lake Town, reducing many residents to ashes. "It's our time," Bard said, raising his bow and arrow and shooting at Smaug. The arrow hit Smaug's abdomen, but bounced off the hard dragon armor, causing no damage. "It's useless unless you hit its weak point. This kind of arrow can't even break the defense," the doppelganger noted. "I know, but I can't just stand by and watch," Bard replied, shooting several more arrows. "Attracting its attention might give more people a chance to escape." The doppelganger sighed. "Standing next to you is dangerous enough. Fine, help me. If you want to attract attention, you have to do it this way." The doppelganger took a deep breath, pulled the bowstring of another bow, and aimed at Smaug's right eye, which was constantly spewing flames. The iron arrow enlarged in Smaug's vertical pupils, and he closed his eyes instinctively, blocking the arrow with his eyelids. "Who dares?" Smaug growled angrily. He could ignore the previous arrows, not because he didn't care, but because he wanted to savor the despair of humans before their death. But this arrow was too much. If it had hit, he might not have become a one-eyed dragon, but blindness was inevitable. "See? This is called technology," Scion said proudly. Bud couldn't complain. The technique was undeniably useful, but he had no idea how to learn it. "It's you." Smaug looked at Aaron on the clock tower in surprise. "No, you can't be faster than me. What is your relationship with the Dragon Whisperer? Twins?" Aaron immediately gave Bud a wink, then looked at Smaug with a smile and said in dragon language, "Is there a possibility that I am him?" Smaug was stunned for a moment, a thoughtful look flickering in his cold pupils. The smell, the movement, the expression, even the cynical tone of voice, all were the same, and it was still in dragon language. Smaug suddenly became alert. "What are you doing?" Before he could finish the sentence, a sharp, piercing sound interrupted him, followed by a frantic warning in his mind. His body reacted instinctively. This is troublesome, Bard and the thought body both realized simultaneously. Ding! A dark blue scale was shot out of the depression. Smaug felt a needle-like prick, and his gigantic frame shuddered. He noticed Bud operating the wind crossbow, but even the black arrows from the wind crossbow would only cause him pain, not a fatal threat. So where was this crisis coming from? He touched the scales where he had been shot and found something amiss. He looked at his reflection in the lake and finally saw a small patch on his left chest that was not covered by scales. Realization dawned on him, and he roared angrily. He sneered at the two of them. "The humans left me this little loophole at the beginning. Is this your idea?" Asked knowingly, Scion rolled his eyes. "Unfortunately, you lost your only chance. How about golden armor? Thorin Oakenshield's wild ideas more than make up for this deficiency," Smaug said, his belly turning red. "But I don't want anyone else to know, so you better die." Boom! The fiery dragon's breath gushed out, and flames rushed straight towards the bell tower. At that moment, a white magic circle suddenly appeared, and a transparent circular barrier enveloped the bell tower, separating the flames. "Call!" Scion heaved a sigh of relief. The ultimate defense magic circle had not disappointed him. "Interesting magic," Smaug murmured unexpectedly, then looked at Aaron meaningfully. "But how many times can you block it?" Chapter 269. I create opportunities, you seize opportunities. "I don't know," the missing body said bluntly, spreading its hands. "But it should be enough to last until it kills you." "What a big tone," Smaug sneered, walking slowly towards the clock tower. He revealed a row of sharp dragon teeth and mockingly added, "But how do you plan to kill me? Do you still have black arrows?" Hearing this, Bard's heart sank slightly. Smaug had dodged the only black arrow by chance, and now they only had an ordinary iron arrow to hit the wound on its left chest. The effect would definitely not be as good as the black arrow, and at most, it could injure the dragon. With Smaug on guard, they might even miss with the iron arrow. "Yes, and more than one," the missing body said, waving its white wand. 3 black arrows appeared on the wooden frame next to the wind crossbow. "What? Where did these come from?" Bard exclaimed, his mind reeling. Wasn't he the only one who had kept a black arrow in Lake Town? "It's a long story," the missing body lamented. "Why do you think I'm here today? I searched the lake for a long time before I found these 3. "Impossible. You'd have to dive at least tens of meters to the bottom, let alone find something down there." "I'm a wizard," the missing body replied with a meaningful smile. Bard was momentarily speechless. It was so reasonable to place the unreasonable on a wizard. Black arrow, wind crossbow, Smaug growled, gritting his teeth. Dragon Whisperer, why do you have to fight against me? To activate the Dragon Slayer crystal? No, certainly not. After a few seconds of silence, the missing body said, I just simply think that being a Dragon Slayer is a bit more prestigious than being a Dragon Whisperer. Smaug was stunned for a moment, then angrily spewed dragon flames. The transparent barrier reappeared, protecting the clock tower, but it soon became faintly visible. Seeing this, Smaug increased the output, and the dragon flame became more violent. Bard immediately loaded a black arrow into the wind crossbow and shot fiercely at the wound on Smaug's left chest. But this time, Smaug was prepared and blocked the black arrow with its wings, though at the cost of a piece of green scale cracking. Damn it, Bard cursed, beating the wall angrily. You can't stop me. Smaug spat out a mouthful of dragon flame and said coldly, The magic circle is about to shatter. You can think about your last words and then be reduced to ashes. Not necessarily, Aaron said, tapping the bell tower with his wand. The magic crystal began to provide power for the magic circle, and the barrier instantly stabilized. Smaug was immediately dumbfounded and even began to doubt his own strength. Killing people had been effortless before, but why was it so difficult now? I will kill you. I must kill you, Smaug said, covering his chest with one hand and slapping the protective shield with the other. What should we do? Bard asked anxiously. There are only 2 black arrows left, and we have no chance to hit that wound. Opportunities are created. I create opportunities, and you have to seize them, the missing body said meaningfully. Then it drew its bow and arrow, aiming at Smaug's right eye again. The arrow shot out quickly, and Smaug subconsciously wanted to slap it away with his right paw. But before he could raise his right arm, he saw the eager bard aiming with the wind crossbow, so he had to close his eyes helplessly. Boom! The iron arrow bounced off Smaug's eyelids, but he was not in the least happy. Despicable guy, Smaug said, looking at Aaron speechlessly, feeling infinitely aggrieved for the first time in his battle with humans. Hearing this, the missing body chuckled, turned, and gave Bard a wink. Am I despicable? Bard hesitated for a moment. Not despicable, very above board. The corners of the missing body's eyes twitched slightly. Why did you hesitate for several seconds? Does it bother you to be honest? You heard it, great Smaug, the missing body said, spreading out its hands. If I had a body as big as yours, as hard scales, and the ability to breathe fire, I wouldn't need to resort to such tactics. If I had sharp claws, I would definitely fight you one-on-one, but we don't have that luxury, do we? You bully the small, prey on the weak, and kill innocent people indiscriminately. So why can't I shoot you in the eye? Smaug blinked, then growled. In the next moment, he raised his arms and slammed them down. I'll kill you. Shoot! The thought body shouted immediately. Bard adjusted the angle of the wind crossbow and fired the penultimate black arrow. Boom! The barrier was hit hard, and faint cracks appeared. At the same moment, the black arrow grazed several of Smaug's scales and struck his wound. Unfortunately, part of the arrow's power was consumed, and it only pierced his flesh, not fatally. Arr! Smaug roared in pain, flying in a circle. The fleeing townspeople heard the dragon's painful cry, turned around, and saw a black arrow sticking out of his chest. It was shot! My dad shot it! Bana shouted excitedly. He shot the dragon! Cried Killy. You see, that's a black arrow, Teriel murmured. No wonder it can pierce dragon skin. Did we win? Bofer breathed a sigh of relief. Can we get out? No, Teriel said immediately. Just in case, we can't leave the range of this magic circle until the dragon is dead. Smaug pulled the black arrow from his chest mid-air, spilling a large amount of red blood into the lake. He spewed flames at Lake Town to vent his monstrous anger. This can't kill it? Bard couldn't believe it. He then looked down at the last black arrow. There is only one chance left, and it will be even more difficult next time. No matter how difficult it is, it's worth it. Besides, I have some bad news for you. The magic circle is about to fail. That's really bad news. Bard smiled bitterly and loaded the black arrow into the wind crossbow. After turning Long Lake into a sea of flames, Smaug landed in front of the clock tower again, much calmer than before. Unfortunately, no one can kill me. No one. We still have a black arrow, the thought body said lightly. You don't have the right to be arrogant before it's shot. Smaug's voice stopped abruptly. He flapped his wings to distance himself from the two of them, creating a hurricane that interfered with the direction of the black arrow. During his high-speed flight, he sprayed dragon flames to attack the magic circle of the bell tower. Damn it, he's gotten smarter, Senianti cursed. Why so cautious? If you have the guts, come down and fight. Bard's mouth twitched, speechless. Smaug had almost died. Anyone with sense knew the next step was to take no chances. Click, click. Gaius, the shield is about to shatter. I know. Worst case, I'll use my own magic energy to supply the magic circle. Even so, we can only buy some time. If Smaug keeps this up, he can completely kill us. The thought body frowned, understanding their dire situation. After taking a few deep breaths, he turned to Bard. You must seize the opportunity I give you. Bard nodded heavily. What are you going to do? Of course I'll do it myself, the thought body said with a smile, then pointed his wand at the lake. The black arrow is flying. A black arrow flew out of the lake and landed in his hand. Another black arrow? Don't get your hopes up. Spells are limited, and I was lucky to find this one. It's for me, the thought body cut off Bard's chances of luck, then raised the white wand. Call God for protection. A white cyclone appeared from the tip of the wand, and thick magic power spread outward, even suppressing the raging flames around. Ripples of white magic drove Smaug back, but couldn't break through his defenses. Great magic, but you think that's going to stop me? I'm Smaug, growled the dragon. Of course not, the thought body shook his head. Aaron increased the output of his magic power. Roar! The dragon-shaped Patronus took form in the sky, radiating a holy light. Aaron's first Patronus was a raven, but his second was Abe, the holy dragon. However, as a mere magister, the holy dragon he summoned was only a dozen meters in size, far from being comparable to Smaug. The second dragon, Smaug said, startled. No, you're not a real dragon. You just have the form of one. Aaron swung his wand, and the Patronus roared, flying towards Smaug. Courting death, Smaug growled, opening his mouth wide to spew crimson flames. The holy dragon Patronus was not to be outdone. A white magic circle flashed in front of it, and holy white dragon flames erupted from its mouth. The two flames collided and intertwined, making it hard to determine the victor. However, the Patronus's attack consumed Aaron's magic power rapidly. He could feel the energy in his body draining quickly, and the magic power consumed was several times that of summoning a raven. Bud was dumbfounded, his eyes darting between Aaron and the white dragon. Ha! I must be dreaming to be able to fight the evil dragon Smaug to this extent, Bud exclaimed. The townspeople, who had been busy running, also stopped. Some had piety in their eyes, and others even knelt down and bowed. Gaius, is he really this powerful? Killy's eyes widened in disbelief. We're sure to win now. No, Teriel said, frowning slightly as she looked at Aaron. This magic is very powerful, but it also consumes a lot. He is only a teenager. He won't last long. Indeed, Aaron's right hand was already shaking. Even a mid-level magister would not dare to consume magic power like this, let alone a clone with only half the power. Bud, please don't be distracted. Aaron forced a laugh and controlled the Patronus to slam into Smaug fiercely. Bang! 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 The two dragons, one large and one small, fought in the most primitive way in the night sky. Smaug, several times the size of the holy dragon, had an absolute upper hand in melee combat. He used his wings and claws to attack continuously, and even the holy dragon's form began to falter. Aaron was crumbling. In less than 2 minutes, he had less than a quarter of his magic energy left. If he continued any longer, he would disappear entirely. Ontology, where are you? I need support. Aaron thought desperately. Chapter 270, The Birth of the Dragon Slayer. At the moment, Aaron was admiring the heroic performance of his double on the Lonely Mountain. Simultaneously, he was contemplating whether to invest in transfiguration. After all, he had just earned 1,000 magic points, making him eligible to purchase it. However, he was hesitant. He suspected that his animagus form would be either a raven or a dragon. Judging by the posture of his Patronus, even if he transformed into a dragon, he would only be about a dozen meters in size. Considering how badly his Patronus was faring, he doubted he would fare much better. While transfiguration was powerful, it wasn't enough to face Smaug. He might be torn to pieces in less than a minute, and he didn't want to die without a whole body. "Is that a dragon?" Bilbo murmured, looking at the white dragon fighting Smaug over Lake Town. "Obviously," said Balin, "but it can't beat Smaug. It doesn't look like a real dragon. It should be some kind of high magic." As he spoke, he set his sights on Aaron, and the others looked at him suspiciously. Hey, what are you looking at me for?" Aaron said with a sneer. "I'm right here. What kind of magic could I be using?" "But there is no one else but you," Bilbo smiled. "Didn't you say it was all arranged? Lake Town is where Smaug was supposed to be buried." "Gaius," Thorin looked at him meaningfully, "can you give me an explanation?" "Okay, that's right. It's exactly what you think. I summoned that dragon." Aaron raised his head triumphantly and looked at everyone proudly. "This kind of ancient magic can only be learned by a few geniuses, and I am one of them. However, every time you use the magic, it consumes a crazy amount of power, and if you're not careful, the thought body may disappear." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, then very tacitly decided that this magic had nothing to do with Aaron. Based on what they knew about him, he wouldn't be so high profile. "Aaron," Bilbo pointed in the direction of Lake Town, "tell me honestly, did you make this?" "Of course I arranged it," Aaron said carelessly. "Who else knows such advanced magic except me? It can't be Gandalf." "I see, Gandalf is back!" Bilbo suddenly felt he had seen through the truth. No wonder Aaron confidently guaranteed that Lake Town was where Smaug would be buried. It must be a tactic he had discussed with Gandalf in advance. Aaron thought to himself, "We are honest children, but no one believes the truth." Just as Aaron was thinking this, he heard a cry for help from the thought body in his mind. When he turned his head, he saw that the Patronus of the Holy Dragon was being crazily beaten by Smaug, and its form was collapsing. "Everyone, I have to help. Without me, they can't kill that dragon." Aaron sighed helplessly, then used apparition to teleport to the clock tower. "Is he going to Lake Town?" asked Bilbo in disbelief. "I'm afraid so, Bilbo," said Balin, "and he might slay the dragon with them." "Sorry, it's not too late," Aaron said as he appeared, taking the black wand from the thought body and quickly casting the Patronus charm. Expecto Patronum. With the injection of powerful magic, the crippled white holy dragon suddenly regained its strength and its collapsing body gradually solidified. It miraculously repelled Smaug and then rushed over desperately. "My magic power is less than 1/10, the thought body said weakly. "Then get ready." "You two, are these twins?" Bard asked in amazement. "No," Aaron and the thought body said in unison. Bard raised his eyebrows. They were definitely twins. "Bard," the thought body picked up a black arrow on the ground and said solemnly, "You know what to do, right?" "I'll shoot, but I might not kill Smaug." "Don't worry about that. Leave it to me," Aaron said. "You just need to shoot." The thought body and Aaron looked at each other. The former used the illusion spell, while the latter prepared for the final confrontation. Aaron stopped casting spells, pretending to be out of breath. The patron saint of the Holy Dragon collapsed instantly, turning into white light spots and disappearing. Smaug paused for a moment, then looked proudly in the direction of the clock tower. "You can't hold on anymore, can you?" he taunted. Aaron didn't answer, but took a step back, intentionally or unintentionally. "Looks like I guessed right," Smaug sneered. "But I won't get close, and I won't give you any chance." Aaron, huge gift crab. When Longu got up, nothing happened. Sure enough, opportunities can only be created by ourselves. Aaron's doppelganger sighed helplessly, then apparated directly to Smaug's back and thrust the black arrow in his hand hard. Screech! There was a harsh sound as the black arrow struck Smaug's back, sparks flickering followed by a sullen growl. "Who?" Smaug roared. The doppelganger didn't answer, but rushed forward with the black arrow. The dragon's scales on Smaug's back jingled, and a row of sparks flashed away, particularly conspicuous in the night sky. It wasn't very harmful, but extremely insulting. "Damn bugs," Smaug cursed, turning his head to look in the direction of the clock tower. He flew up into the sky in a circle, intending to deal with the intruder on his back first. "Bud," Aaron called. "I'm aiming, but its speed is too fast," Bud said anxiously, constantly adjusting the angle of the wind crossbow. "I'll slow him down," Aaron said, waving his wand across the lake. A magic circle large enough to cover half of Long Lake Town emerged below the lake's surface. Dozens of icy water streams flew up from the lake, crashing into Smaug hovering in the sky at an extremely fast speed. Bud's eyes widened in disbelief. It took a lot of time to prepare this magic circle at the bottom of the lake today, and finding the black arrow was just incidental. Originally, I wanted to make a water prison, but let's make do now. Bang, bang, bang. Smaug was hit first in the stomach, and the smoldering dragon fire was splashed with cold water, causing him to stagger in midair. More and more water streams hit his whole body, making him very angry, but the huge dragon body still fell uncontrollably. Bud seized the opportunity and decisively shot the last black arrow. Puff! This time, Smaug was defenseless. The black arrow hit the wound on his left chest, and the shaft of the arrow penetrated completely into his body, leaving only the arrow feathers exposed. Arg! Smaug screamed in pain, crashing into a large building while falling. He staggered up, enduring the great pain, and flapped his wings to fly upwards, but he was panting heavily and on the verge of falling. Seeing this, Bud breathed a sigh of relief. We won. But it's not thorough enough, Aaron said with a meaningful smile. The doppelganger's phantom migrated back, and the body gradually became transparent, merging with the main body. Bud swallowed hard. You guys, Don't think too much. We're really not twins, it's just a simple clone technique, Aaron said lightly. He then looked at Smaug, who was struggling in midair, and felt it was necessary to give death a face. He grabbed the black arrow left by the doppelganger, and his body entered the black and white space vortex. When he reappeared, he was on Smaug's chest. It's time to grab the dragon head, Aaron thought excitedly, grabbing the arrow feathers on Smaug's chest with one hand and piercing the black arrow fiercely with the other. Then he cast several spells in succession. Cruciate, Cruciatus, Cruciatus. Arr! Smaug let out a horrible scream, and the whole dragon fell from the sky. Normally, the spells would not be able to hurt him at all, but now, hit by 2 black arrows and on the verge of death, the effects of these spells were infinitely magnified. Boom! Smaug landed on the town with an earth-shattering sound. A large piece of gold coins fell like rain, and Aaron was at a loss. Even if there was a reward for slaying the dragon, he wouldn't be so hasty. When Aaron saw the mayor's body not far away, he Enli realized that Smaug had probably killed the unfortunate man when he fell, overturning the treasure on board. But this was what the mayor deserved, and he warranted no sympathy. Why? Smaug lay on the dilapidated town, glaring at Aaron with anger. You and I should be the closest allies. Why are you against me? Aaron sighed, his expression complicated. He hesitated, unsure whether to let Smaug die or not. Just then, he saw Bard and others rowing over. He immediately adopted a righteous demeanor and declared, Of course, it is for the justice in my heart. Smaug was speechless. It wanted to yell at Aaron for his hypocrisy. In its long life, it had never encountered such a shameless person. But the rapid loss of life sapped its strength, and its eyes quickly turned gray. Aaron shook his head and silently took out the Dragon Slayer crystal. Wisps of red gold light flew out of Smaug's body and merged into the crystal, which slowly turned red from its original transparency. As the dragon soul was drawn away, Smaug's body became extremely shriveled, with its hard scales turning into gravel and dissipating. What's going on here? Teriel asked Aaron in surprise. What did you do? Don't get me wrong, Aaron said, suppressing his excitement as he put away the activated Dragon Slayer crystal. He explained solemnly, I won't use Smaug's corpse, but I have to prevent evil people from using it to cause future troubles. You don't want it to fall into the hands of necromancers. Teriel was momentarily speechless. Where's my dad? Bane asked. Is he okay? Very well. It's time for him to come down from the bell tower now, Aaron sighed. His archery makes me feel ashamed. Every arrow hit Smaug, and he struck the weak spot in the left breast twice exactly. Congratulations. From today, the world will know that Bard killed the dragon with an arrow, and you will be the descendants of the Dragon Slayers. Meanwhile, Thorin and the others on the Lonely Mountain also saw the fall of the evil dragon. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief, and the gloom in their hearts was completely lifted. Caw! 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 A black raven flew over from the distant sky. Erebor's raven has flown back again, Groin said excitedly. Yes, the news will spread, and people in Middle-earth will know that the dragon is dead. Balin laughed, and everyone else cheered. Only Thorin returned to the hall with a blank expression. Chapter 271, The Dwarf King. Bewitched by Gold. As dawn broke, the residents of Changhu Town struggled to flee to the shore. The air was filled with wailing. The previous night's battle had left the already impoverished residents in even worse conditions, with many families destroyed. After the evil dragon's attack, the entire town turned into a sea of flames. Those with boats escaped by water, while those without swam through the icy lake all night, helping each other to reach land. Shocking, Aaron sighed, then turned to the Bud family. What are your plans for the future? Bud forced a smile. I can't leave them behind. Aaron nodded slightly. I believe you will rebuild with these refugees, but before that, you have to overcome the immediate challenges. Wealth can be found by Soren, but food and shelter will have to be figured out on your own. Aaron, Keely, it's time for us to go, Beaufort called. He and Bifur were pushing a wooden boat into the river, ready to set off for Erebor. Aaron patted Bud on the shoulder and handed a black arrow to Bon. I have to go. Keep this as a family heirloom. Keely walked towards the shore, but suddenly stopped and returned to Teriel. Come with me. I know my heart. I'm not afraid. I can't live without you. Teriel, I love you. His heartfelt confession caught Teriel, an elf who had lived for hundreds of years, off guard. She did have feelings for Keely, but there was still a gap between affection and love. I don't know what you're talking about, she said. I think you do, Keely replied with a smile. Just as Teriel was about to respond, she noticed a pair of eyes watching her from behind. Prince Legolas. Get away from that dwarf. You have a mission, Legolas commanded. Teriel was silent for a moment, then turned around slowly. Keely glared at Legolas sullenly. He had managed to create a tender moment, only for it to be ruined. But he didn't stop Teriel. The elves had their missions, and the dwarves had their goals. After walking a few steps, Keely turned back and handed Teriel the black stone his mother had given him as a token. By the afternoon, they arrived in Erebor. Bilbo met them at the city gate, looking anxious. Where's Gandalf? Hehe, Aaron chuckled. I told you it wasn't Gandalf who fought the dragon. Why don't you believe it? That's troublesome, Bilbo said warily. Thorin has changed. Remember what Smaug said? You really shouldn't have given him the Arkenstone. What do you mean? Keely asked, puzzled. The Arkenstone originally belonged to the dwarves, and Thorin is the rightful heir. Why can't you give it to him? Because that thing is cursed, Bilbo pointed helplessly at the entrance of the hall. He's been down there all day, neither eating nor drinking. Aaron frowned slightly. Let's go and have a look. Entering the main hall, they were greeted by the sight of immense wealth. The three newly arrived dwarves were shocked by the sheer amount of gold. Gold, countless gold, no more sorrow and pain, Thorin murmured as he descended from the throne, inlaid with the Arkenstone. He looked at them with a hint of madness in his eyes. Look at this great treasure. Welcome, my nephew friends and kin, to Erebor. You see? Bilbo spread his hands helplessly. I feel like his world is now only about gold. Aaron's eyes twitched slightly. There was indeed something wrong with Thorin. Give him some time. He can recover. Will time fix this? Bilbo asked, exasperated. We have to find a way to get him out of here, or I'm afraid he'll become as arrogant as Smaug said. Aaron sighed and turned to Thorin. The Dwarf King's duty is to rebuild Erebor, not to hoard this so-called wealth. Give me a moment, Gaius. I have waited decades for this day, and it is time to taste the fruits of victory. Aaron pursed his lips and left the hall in silence. Bilbo led the others out, leaving Thorin alone with his gold. The two groups of dwarves cheered excitedly when they saw that their partners were alive and well. We have to get Gandalf back. Only he can guide Thorin back to the right path, Bilbo said, pulling Aaron aside and speaking in a low voice. And Smaug also mentioned that the necromancers would send troops to attack Lonely Mountain. Our situation is not safe. More than that, Aaron said thoughtfully, Smaug is dead, and the news will spread soon. A huge treasure is attractive to anyone. This dwarf kingdom is more dangerous than ever. What should I do? Bilbo asked, concern etched on his face. Find me a room first, Aaron replied. Huh? Bilbo blinked, looking at Aaron in a daze. What did you say? I've been fighting for a day and traveling for another. I need to rest, or I might collapse. Don't let anyone disturb me, Aaron explained, rolling his eyes. "What about Thorin?" Bilbo asked. "Don't worry about him," Aaron waved his hand dismissively. "You know how stubborn he is. It's useless to persuade him before he calms down. As for the enemy, don't worry too much. Even attacking Erebor will take some time." Bilbo nodded, half understanding, and then asked Balin to arrange a quiet room for Aaron. "Clean up," Aaron muttered as he locked the door and used a cleaning spell to rid the room of decades of dust. System: sign in. The host signs in the Dwarf Kingdom and gets 5 magic points. Open personal panel. Okay. Host: magic energy, 8564, It Magister, the end of most wizards' lives. Talent: rare in 100 years. Magic energy increases by 3 points every day. Items: Moondrop, can remove any negative spells. Resurrection Potion, can resurrect any creature that died within an hour. Magic Carpet, Dragon Slayer Crystal, 10. Looking at the value in the last line, Aaron felt inexplicably satisfied. After more than half a year, the magic points had finally reached 4 digits. It was not easy. Taking a deep breath, Aaron suppressed his excitement and received the task reward for killing Smaug. His magic points tripled in an instant. "It's been a long time since I've been so rich," Aaron grinned, joy bubbling from the bottom of his heart. The struggle during this time had not been in vain. System: open them all. It's time to spend. "Okay, host," the system's voice sounded in Aaron's mind. 3 categories, a total of 15 product columns, appeared before his eyes. Magic: at transformation, 1,000 magic points, including animagus. At flight, 100 magic points. The flight speed depends on personal strength. Long-distance projection, 700 magic points, literally, but it is invalid for people with strong will. At necromancy, 500 magic points. Materials: phoenix feather, 30 magic points. At dragon blood, 20 magic points. Mandrake, 5 magic points. At Bezoar, 1 magic point. Mummy dust. Item category blank. At magic mirror, 1 magic point. At Jirani's gem, 50 magic points. The person who gets the gem will suffer bad luck. He had been eyeing transfiguration for a long time, especially after last night's battle. He had a great desire for animagus, so he decisively spent 1,000 magic points to get it. With a lot of knowledge about transfiguration pouring into his mind, Aaron felt his head sink, but after a while, his face was filled with ecstasy. He couldn't wait to try it. He picked up his wand and tapped a water glass. In the blink of an eye, the ordinary glass turned into a black arrow. Aaron weighed it carefully and found that there was no difference from the original version in terms of weight or material. But he knew that this black arrow was just a flawless fake. It was okay to shoot other things with it, but it might not be able to break dragon armor to slay a dragon. This was a limitation of transfiguration. One kind of object could be changed into another, but it was impossible to change it 100%. He could turn stones into exquisite gold ornaments, but such ornaments could only play a decorative role and would not bring the slightest benefit to the human. Aaron pondered for a moment. If one could truly alter materials at will, the magical world would have ascended into chaos long ago. He shrugged, transforming the black arrow into a turtle, and watched it crawl on the table with interest before turning it back into a water glass. Savoring the magic of transfiguration, Aaron decided to experiment with animagus. He tapped his arm with his wand, and his form began to shift into that of a raven. After a few moments, Aaron flapped his black wings, relishing the sensation of flying around the room, before transforming back into his human form. He didn't attempt the second type of animagus transformation. There was simply no room for a giant dragon in his quarters. Although he could also become a dragon cub less than half a meter long, it seemed unnecessary. "I can consider myself a master of transfiguration now," Aaron thought with a sense of pride. Not to mention Professor McGonagall, even Dumbledore might not be as skilled as I am in this area. With that, he turned his attention to the phantom projection, happily spending a significant amount of magic points to acquire it. This profound illusion, though lacking in offensive power, was more cost-effective than a powerful spell. With a snap of his fingers, the room instantly transformed into his own bedroom, and Abe appeared, flying joyfully around the ceiling. However, an illusion is just that, an illusion. It could deceive the eyes, but it lacked any real substance. I wonder when I'll be able to return, Aaron murmured to himself. But it shouldn't be too far off. He then allocated more magic points to his magical energy, elevating his strength from that of a mid-level magister to a high-level magister. The remaining magic points could be used to refresh the mall or to enhance Abe's strength. Of Laketown, who have come seeking refuge and aid. They are in dire need of help after the dragon's attack. Aaron's expression turned serious. I see. We can't just ignore them. Let's go and see what we can do. As they made their way to the gates, Aaron couldn't help but reflect on the events of the past day. The fusion with the Dragon Slayer crystal had been more painful than he had anticipated, but the power it granted him was undeniable. He felt a newfound strength coursing through his veins, and the Fire Dragon Slayer magic was already proving to be a formidable asset. When they arrived at the gates, they found Thorin and a few other dwarves standing guard. The gates were indeed blocked with large stones, preventing anyone from entering or leaving. Thorin, we need to talk, Aaron called out, his voice firm but calm. Thorin turned to face him, his expression stern. What is it, Aaron? We have to protect our home. I understand that, but we can't turn our backs on the people of Laketown. They need our help, Aaron replied, his tone unwavering. Thorin's eyes narrowed. And what do you propose we do? Let them in and risk our own safety? We can find a way to help them without compromising our security. We owe them that much, Aaron insisted. Thorin hesitated, his gaze shifting to the blocked gates. After a moment, he sighed. Very well, we'll find a way to assist them, but we must remain vigilant. Aaron nodded in agreement. Thank you, Thorin. Let's work together to find a solution. With that, they began to devise a plan to aid the residents of Laketown while ensuring the safety of the Dwarven city. Aaron's newfound powers would undoubtedly play a crucial role in their efforts, and he was determined to use them for the greater good. As they worked, Aaron couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had led him to this moment. With the power of the Dragon Slayer crystal and the support of his friends, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Laketown. You are coming from Long Lake Town. You should know that the people there are already homeless. Hundreds of refugees have flocked to the ruins of River Valley State, but Thorin doesn't intend to help them. Aaron frowned slightly, and after a moment of silence, he said, It's understandable. What? Bilbo looked at Aaron in surprise. That's hundreds of lives, and the Bud family is also among them. I know, but Thorin is right. There aren't many food and water sources in Erebor, barely enough for us to last for a while, but it's a drop in the bucket for the refugees. This city may have places to live, but the treasures are real. Can you guarantee that they will obey the arrangements obediently after Thorin takes them in? Don't forget, the townspeople were as hungry for gold as anyone the night before we set off. Hearing this, Bilbo swallowed. It shouldn't happen. Aaron couldn't help but sneer. Is it appropriate to use should at this time? If Erebor were still a glorious dwarven kingdom, there would be no need to worry about strong soldiers and horses. I would take the initiative to persuade Thorin to take those refugees in. But now there are only a dozen of us in this city. What if they turn against us and drive us out? Human greed is the most elusive. They may be grateful when they first come in, but who can guarantee that they won't be tempted by the dwarves' treasures, won't occupy the magpie's nest, and regard Erebor as their new home? Bilbo opened his mouth, but found himself speechless. Thorin had reclaimed the Lonely Mountain with great difficulty, and he would never allow any uncertain factors to come in. Then do we just watch? Watch them starve and freeze outside? We can provide them with warm clothes and charcoal for heating, Aaron said in a deep voice. It's enough to help them survive the severe winter, and it's a kindness. Bilbo sighed and nodded silently. But at that moment, he suddenly thought of something and immediately said, By the way, there's something worse. There's an army of elves outside. Waterfark! Aaron couldn't stay calm anymore. He thought they would be able to relax for a few days after killing Smaug. Although Erebor would face the invasion of evil forces next, at least they could have a little time to rest. After Thorin succeeded to the throne and summoned the dwarf army, they might be able to survive this crisis. But he didn't expect that there would be an army stationed outside the next day, and it was the dwarves' former elf allies. Life was unpredictable. Not daring to delay, Aaron quickly followed Bilbo to the city wall. Seeing that the River Valley city on the opposite side was full of elves in golden armor, Aaron could only feel his brain buzzing. Nema, Thranduil's timing must have been too accurate. At this speed, it is estimated that the dragon's front foot was dead, and he dispatched an army on his back foot. "Welcome, my friend." Thorin smiled and looked at Aaron. "I know you are very tired. I didn't inform you when the city wall was built yesterday." Thank you," Aaron sneered, then looked at the opposite side. "What's the situation?" "It's just that the despicable elves want to seize the fruits of victory," Thorin said dismissively. "But Thranduil underestimated the dwarves too much, and his plan is doomed to fail. Thorin, you may not be pleased when I say this, but I must say it. There are only a dozen of us, and there is an army outside, which we cannot fight." "Yes, that's right, we are outnumbered," Bilbo nodded in agreement. "War should be avoided as much as possible. If peace can be negotiated, I suggest—" "Impossible," Thorin interrupted Bilbo directly. "They are already at the gates. This is persecution, and the dwarves will never compromise." Bilbo suddenly felt extremely tired. He didn't understand where Thorin got such confidence. At that moment, the sound of horses' hooves came from the opposite side, and Bard rode a white horse and came to the city gate alone. "Thorin, son of Thrain," Bard called out, looking up at the crowd on the wall. "It is a great surprise to see you alive." "Why have you come to fight against the enemy at the foot of the mountain?" Thorin asked calmly. "Why is the king under the mountain hiding inside the city walls like a coward?" "Because I am worried that robbers will come and steal." Bard replied, "My lord, we are not here to rob you. We only seek to resolve the issue. Are you not willing to talk to me?" Bard asked. Thorin paused, nodded slightly, and descended from the city wall. "This guy is probably here to collect a debt," Aaron said with a knowing smile. "But he definitely feels confident about this debt." "What debt?" Bilbo asked, puzzled. "The king's promise," Aaron shrugged and followed Thorin down the stairs. Bilbo remembered Thorin's promise in Long Lake Town and nodded thoughtfully. Bard approached the bottom of the city wall and began speaking through a city gate made of boulders. Thorin leaned against the gate, showing Bard a side profile. "I'm listening," he said. "On behalf of all the people of Lake Town, I ask you to keep your promise and share some of the wealth so that we can rebuild our homeland," Bard requested. "We have no such promise." Thorin shook his head and refused, looking at Bard provocatively. "Your men are already approaching the city." "Thorin," Aaron interjected, "I must remind you, that is a promise you made in the name of the dwarf prince." Thorin waved his hand dismissively. "Let him speak first." "Our request is reasonable," Bard continued. "My people have helped you, but what you brought them was destruction and death." "Is it reasonable?" Thorin retorted. "You did it for a generous return, whether it was you or the townspeople." "That's a fair deal," Bard said earnestly. "You mean exchanging dignity for blankets and food for survival and continuation?" Thorin's voice was tinged with anger. "Is this fair? We had no choice at all. So, Bard the Dragon Slayer, why should I abide by those conditions?" "Because that's your promise to us. Isn't it worth anything?" Bard asked. Thorin lowered his head to avoid Bard's gaze. After a moment of thought, he said, "Leave, or I will shoot you with an arrow." Bard closed his eyes in disappointment. "You are instigating a war and forcing us to fight up the mountain." "Wait, Bard," Aaron hurriedly stopped him. "Give me some time, and I will convince him." Bard took a deep look at Aaron. "I will try my best to dissuade King Thranduil, but you had better convince Oakenshield before the end of today." Chapter 273, Fulfilling the King's Promise, Erebor, King's Hall. Aaron looked at Thorin sitting on the throne and rolled his eyes in exasperation. "Sometimes I really wonder if your brain is burned out. Thorin, are you out of your wits? Why start a war that has almost no chance of winning?" "It's none of your business, Gaius." "No," Aaron said bluntly. "This has everything to do with me, and it has a lot to do with it." Thorin smiled playfully, his eyes lingering on Aaron and Bilbo for a few seconds. "I'm sorry to involve you, but I guarantee that you will not be in danger." "We are not afraid," Bilbo interjected. "If there is a war, we will definitely stand with you. This is what friends should do, but we don't want to be forced into an unjust war because of your irrationality. Thorin, you must recognize the current situation. There is a well-equipped elf army outside the city, and you just pushed countless angry fishermen over it. The situation will change soon, Thorin said with a meaningful smile. Master Baggins, never underestimate a dwarf. If we can take back Erebor, we can also defend it. That's right, Aaron said sarcastically. We can defend it as long as we defeat enemies hundreds or even thousands of times larger than our own. Not that many, Balin interjected. We have notified the army of the Iron Hills, and King Dane will lead his troops here soon. When was it notified? Erebor's ravens don't know how to call. Oh, Aaron suddenly realized. Flying pigeon, no, flying crow to pass on the letter. Don't worry now, Thorin said proudly. With the city of Erebor and Dane's army, we may not be at a disadvantage. Now I'm even more worried, Aaron shook his head and looked at Thorin tentatively. The scale of the war is constantly increasing, which means that the casualties will also increase significantly. Thorin just smiled contemptuously. Dwarves are not afraid of any challenge, Aaron sighed. This time is different. This time is an unprecedented challenge. We cannot make enemies. At least we must preserve our strength as much as possible. We only have 15 people. We have nothing to keep. It's better to fight with all our strength. No, you misunderstood. I mean to preserve the strength of humans and elves, Aaron said seriously. This war must be stopped, no matter what. The smile on Thorin's face faded slowly, and the others looked at Aaron in confusion. Gaius, why should we retain the strength of the enemy? Dvalin said angrily. Because of the common enemy, Aaron explained patiently. This is what Smaug said when Bilbo and I were looking for the Arkenstone. The hidden enemy is very strong, and it is eyeing the lonely mountain. It is true, said Bilbo, nodding. It says it is darkness enough to drown the world. The dwarves looked at each other, but Thorin laughed loudly. The two of you are worrying for nothing. It's obvious that the dragon is scaring you. It is afraid that you will find the Arkenstone, that I will become king, and that the army of the dwarves will be afraid. Aaron held his forehead and shook his head, speechless. He knew that Thorin was very swollen with pride now, but he didn't expect him to be so swollen to this extent. You are the king. Is it really appropriate to take it for granted so hastily? Okay, since you think so, then I have nothing to say, Aaron said with a helpless wry smile. But rebuilding Lake Town is your promise to them. I have made it very clear at the gate of the city that I have no promises to them, Thorin said flatly. I will not give a penny to these guys who take advantage of the fire. But they have nothing, said Bilbo bitterly. If we hadn't woken the dragon, they wouldn't be homeless either. That's the price of greed, and they should be prepared. But a promise is a promise after all, Aaron looked at Thorin seriously. You are a descendant of Thrain, the king of the dwarves. If you don't keep your word, you will not only lose your reputation but also bring shame to your ancestors. Thorin took a deep breath and looked at Aaron and Bilbo with a complex expression. If I must not help them, what will you think of me? Bilbo will be sorry and disappointed, but he will not continue to persuade you. As for me, Aaron paused and took out the signed contract. I will give my share to the refugees in Changhu Town to help them rebuild their homes. Thorin, you don't need to give Bard a gold coin, but this is what you promised me, and I have the right to decide how to use it. What if I don't give it? Thorin's voice was hoarse, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. Then I will take it myself, Aaron said calmly. But before that, I will make you recognize yourself first, such as destroying the Arkenstone. The Thorin Oakenshield I knew would not have valued gold so highly unless his mind was bewitched by the heart of the lonely mountain. Hearing this, Thorin slowly walked up to Aaron. You have already thought about it? Is that why you asked me to confirm whether to accept this contract? It can be regarded as planning for a rainy day. Aaron spread his hands. I thought about it when I was in Changhu Town. If you, the king, don't keep your promise, I will take out my share. In this way, Changhu Town can be rebuilt, and the descendants of Thorin will not be counted. But you can't leave anything behind. Thorin casually grabbed a handful of gold coins, letting them fall from his palm one by one, making a crisp sound. Do you know what 1/15 means? You could spend the rest of your life regretting giving up this wealth for a group of refugees you don't even know. Well, to be honest, money is a good thing. I like money, Aaron said bluntly, without any embarrassment on his face. But there are some things that money can't buy, such as the king's promise. But you bought it, Thorin sighed. Bought the king's promise with 1/15 of the treasure. Excuse me, Thorin, Bilbo interjected with a chuckle. Do you agree with us giving part of the wealth to the people of Long Lake Town to rebuild their homes? What, is Master Baggins going to give your share too? Thorin asked playfully. No, 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 Bilbo hastily waved his hand. 1/15 is enough to rebuild Long Lake Town. Too much would be bad. As for my share, I don't want it. No more? Thorin looked at Bilbo in surprise. Are you sure? Bilbo nodded. I'm just an ordinary hobbit. Why do I need so much money? But you are different. Rebuilding a kingdom requires money in every way. Hearing this, Thorin's mouth curved slightly, and he looked at the two admiringly. I have to admit, Gandalf's vision is impeccable. The two individuals he introduced actually don't want this huge amount of wealth. Aaron and Master Baggins, you are not greedy for the wealth of the dwarves. You are true friends, worthy of the dwarves' trust, and even more worthy of the dwarves' respect. There were also some smiles on the faces of the other dwarves. They wanted to help the people of Changhu Town in their hearts, but the king's order could not be violated. If Thorin didn't want to give it, they couldn't give it, but they didn't expect anyone to be able to persuade him. I can make you fulfill my promise, but not now. Why? Bilbo asked anxiously. Because the army of elves is stationed in River Valley City. I will never open the city gate until I repel them. Bilbo was speechless for a moment. Thorin could allow them to help the residents of Long Lake Town rebuild their homes, but he would never compromise with the elves. If they don't open the city gate, how can they send the money for rebuilding Changhu Town? Going to River Valley City and explaining to Bard might not be believed. After all, Thorin had refused very simply before, and they almost went to war directly. I'll solve it, Aaron volunteered, standing up. I'll go to River Valley City and explain it to Bard. As for how to send the gold out of the city, it's not difficult for a wizard like me. You can decide for yourself, but before you leave, I have to give you something, Thorin said. Turning his head to look at everyone, Thorin commanded, all follow me. They entered the armory, where all kinds of armor and weapons lay covered in a thick layer of dust. Despite the neglect, the dwarves' forging technology was unparalleled. Even after many years, the weapons and equipment remained as good as new, with just a bit of cleaning. Choose the right armor and weapons. You can't defend Erebor without them, Thorin instructed. Without hesitation, the dwarves began picking out suitable equipment. Thorin then opened a box and took out a light silver vest, handing it to Bilbo. Master Baggins, Thorin said, you need this. Bilbo's eyes widened in astonishment as he touched the vest. It's made of mithril. It's invulnerable. Very discerning, Thorin replied with some pride. This was made by my ancestors from a silver alloy. Put it on. It symbolizes your friendship with the dwarves, and they will treat you as their most honored guest. Flattered, Bilbo took off his coat and put on the vest. It's all right, he said with an awkward laugh, but it's kind of awkward. After all, I'm only a hobbit, not a warrior. Just get used to it, Aaron patted him on the shoulder. There's nothing more suitable for you than something that can save your life. Gaius, there's only one mithril vest, but I thought of something more suitable for you, Thorin said, turning to Aaron. Aaron felt a surge of excitement, anticipating a magical weapon. However, his expression quickly changed when Thorin placed a jet-black key in his hand. This, isn't it appropriate? Aaron's eyes twitched slightly. He hadn't expected Thorin to give him the key to the secret door. This key was incredibly precious, a token passed down through Thorin's family, and the switch to the back door of Erebor. Yet, from Aaron's perspective, the key held little value. He would eventually leave this world, and a key he would never use was merely a keepsake. How about, forget it. We are likely to face a war soon. The mithril vest isn't of much use to me, but without it, your chances of survival would plummet. This was the truth, albeit a harsh one. Chapter 274, News from the Grey Robe Wizard. A rope was thrown from the wall of Erebor, and Aaron and Bilbo followed it down to the outside of the city. They walked along the avenue all the way to River Valley City. Neither humans nor elves stopped them. They were too busy sorting out their weapons or practicing fighting. Almost everyone in the city was a soldier. Alfred emerged from a dilapidated house and upon seeing the two, walked over impatiently. "You guys still have the guts to come here." "We're here to negotiate with Bard," Bilbo explained. Alfred suddenly showed a mocking smile. "Do you think you are qualified to negotiate now? There are only a dozen of you, and you can't keep the gold at all. You should surrender early and let Erebor out." "I hate lackeys," Aaron muttered, rolling his eyes. He then pulled out his wand and pointed it at Alfred. "I'll only ask once. Where is Bard?" Alfred looked at the wand and took a few steps back, guilt evident in his eyes. I'll take you there." "If that's the case, let's get on with it," Aaron said disdainfully. Alfred cursed inwardly but still led them into a large tent. "My lord, they want to see you." "My lord?" Aaron raised an eyebrow at Bard. "Is this a promotion?" "Elected by everyone, it is considered to be ordered in the face of danger," Bard explained. "Understood, but this guy," Aaron pointed to Alfred, "is more of a hindrance than a help. He bullies others and affects your image." "Alfred," Bard smiled awkwardly, sent Alfred away, and then looked at the two seriously. "Did Thorin Oakenshield change his mind?" "He won't," Thranduil said as he walked into the tent. "The Oakenshield can't part with the gold." "That was the case," Bilbo nodded, "but we managed to convince him. Aaron used his reward for this expedition to fulfill the king's promise. 1/15 of the treasure would be enough to rebuild Long Lake Town and even Dale City." "Is what you said true?" Bard was very excited. If it wasn't a last resort, he didn't plan to go to war. After all, the people of Long Lake Town could only muster a few hundred combatants, which couldn't withstand any loss at all. "This really surprised me." Thranduil sat on a chair and asked curiously, "How did you convince a stubborn dwarf?" "With emotion and reason," Aaron said solemnly. Seeing Thranduil's teasing eyes, he added, "The most important thing is sincerity." Hearing this, several black lines appeared on Thranduil's cold face, which had remained unchanged for thousands of years. It was perfunctory to look at the target anyway. Did Aaron really think he didn't know who Thorin was? However, the king's self-cultivation calmed him down. He didn't yell, but just sneered. "It's unbelievable. Dwarves may be stubborn, ignorant, difficult to deal with, suspicious, and secretive." Bilbo shook his head and smiled. "They have many bad traits that ordinary people can't imagine, but they are brave, kind, and have loyal hearts. Gandalf is right. You will like them when you get used to them." "Can you tell me why you did this?" Bard looked at Aaron in puzzlement. "If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to kill Smaug alone. You have done a great kindness to the people of Long Lake, and you don't owe us anything." "Actually, I owe you a promise." Aaron spread his hands. "The promise made by Thorin was set under my guidance, and I have a certain responsibility to ensure he fulfills it." "Thank you, really. Thank you very much." "It's too early to say thank you," Thranduil interrupted. "How will Thorin get the gold out? Open the gates?" "He won't open the gates, but I'll bring the gold out with magic. Bard, you just have to bring the wagons and move them over there." "Yes," Bard nodded with a smile, then looked at Thranduil with some embarrassment. "King Thranduil, I may have to say sorry. If King Shangxia is willing to keep his promise, there is no reason for me to take the people of Long Lake to attack the city." "No need to say too much, I understand." Thranduil waved his hand dismissively. "The elves will not give up just because humans do," Bud said, sighing slightly. He felt a pang of guilt. When the people of Chenghu were most deprived of food and clothing, the elves had provided assistance and brought enough supplies for them to survive. Now, however, they were withdrawing from the alliance. Although there was a suitable reason, it felt somewhat unreasonable in terms of affection. "Aaron, Bilbo," Bard said seriously, looking at the two. "I don't know what price we have to pay for the white gem, but as long as the king of the Lonely Mountain is willing, we can offer half the gold." Thranduil's pupils dilated slightly, feeling a bit relieved. Humans still knew how to repay kindness. Regardless of the outcome, Bard's performance did not disappoint the elves. Aaron and Bilbo exchanged bewildered glances. With Thorin's prejudice against elves, He wouldn't care if you gave him an extra mountain of gold, let alone less. This is not easy. It's quite difficult, Bilbo said. The elves' reluctance to save him at the beginning pierced a deep thorn in Thorin's heart. It's the dwarves who were unrighteous first, Thranduil said dismissively. They took our national treasure and don't plan to return it. Now I just want to get my stuff back. Is there something wrong with that? Yes, as it should be, Aaron said before changing the subject. But the timing wasn't right. Really? I don't think there is a more suitable time than now. The dwarves have no way out, and the elves can take back the national treasure at minimal cost. Thranduil spoke righteously, then looked at Aaron and Bilbo. I don't want to make a big move. It might let others take advantage of it, but I can't miss this opportunity. You can try to convince Thorin that as long as he returns the white gem to us, I will retreat immediately, and the elves can form an alliance with the dwarves again. King Thranduil, Aaron said, pursing his lips. I must admit that you are very sensible, but you may have misunderstood me. What did you say? This is the main purpose of our coming here. Aaron was about to explain when he was interrupted by a voice from outside. Sharp Hat, what about you? No slobs, beggars, or hooligans are allowed to hang around here. We've got enough trouble without you. Move. Get on your horse. Who is in charge here? Aaron and Bilbo looked at each other, recognizing the first sentence as Alfred's, spoken in an extremely rampant tone, while the latter was asked by their old acquaintance. Gandalf? Murmured Bilbo. He's back. He came back in time, Aaron said, exasperated. Gandalf wasn't there when a dozen of them risked their lives to fight Smaug and was of no help. Now that the evil dragon had been slain and everything had settled, he returned to gain a sense of presence. If it weren't for knowing that Gandalf's departure might be related to the peace of Middle-earth, Aaron would have every reason to suspect that this was an old wizard who was greedy for life and afraid of death, and had the cheek to share the fruits of victory. Bilbo gave a wry smile, opened the tent, and waved to Gandalf. Gandalf, we are here. Seeing Bilbo, Gandalf's expression eased a little. He shook off Alfred in disgust and walked into the tent. Aaron originally wanted to scold Gandalf, but when he saw the blood on his face, he swallowed his words. What's the matter with your injuries? Aaron asked. It's a long story, Gandalf replied. Then make it short, Aaron insisted. I went to the tomb of the Witch King of Angmar. It was completely excavated. The real clue points to Dol Guldur. You mean Dol Guldur? Aaron interrupted, intrigued. Let me guess, did you see the necromancer there? Yes, Gandalf nodded, then asked in confusion. How do you know? Smaug told me that the necromancer recovered in Dol Guldur, Aaron chuckled. Don't tell me you went there alone? Gandalf froze for a moment, then opened his mouth hesitantly. Oh, looks like I guessed right. Gandalf, are you an idiot? Or has the peace of Middle-earth dulled your senses? The fact that Radagast managed to bring the Devil's Cave sword out of there should have been a clear sign it was a trap, and yet you walked right into it. It's not that I didn't have my doubts, Gandalf replied, but to uncover certain truths, I had to take the risk. Aaron sighed. Are you sure you didn't just walk into the lion's den? I didn't expect things to be as serious as they were, Gandalf admitted, still shaken. If it hadn't been for Saruman, King Elrond, and Queen Galadriel arriving in time, I might not have made it out alive. That's because you were foolish, Aaron said contemptuously. Do you know the saying, a wise man avoids danger? If I were you, I would have called Saruman, King Elrond, Queen Galadriel, and Radagast together. No matter how powerful a necromancer he is, he would have had no choice but to flee in the face of such a united front. Gandalf was left speechless, filled with regret. He had known it would be dangerous to go alone, but had believed he could escape unscathed. After all, Radagast had managed to escape, and Gandalf was stronger than Radagast. He had thought there was no reason he couldn't do the same, but he hadn't anticipated encountering a situation akin to hell, with Sauron himself taking action against him and using him as bait to lure others into an ambush. If Queen Galadriel hadn't expended a massive amount of mana and used the Ring of Water to repel Sauron, their entire group might have been annihilated. Despite the ordeal, Gandalf had not come away empty-handed. He had learned of Sauron's intentions and his next moves. With this in mind, Gandalf turned to Thranduil with a serious expression. King Thranduil, the grievances between you and the dwarves must be set aside. War is imminent. The orcs of Dol Guldur are mobilizing, and you are in grave danger. Chapter 275, Negotiation Skills and Sincerity. What are you talking about? Bard frowned, feeling as if fate and the people of Lake Town were playing a cruel joke on him. After finally escaping the flames of the evil dragon, he had hoped to rebuild a happy and beautiful homeland with the wealth from Erebor. But now he was being told that the orcs were mobilizing and a catastrophe was imminent. It was almost too much to bear. You don't understand wizards very well, Thranduil said indifferently. They are like thunder in the cold winter, rumbling from a distance with a loud bang, but you never see the rain. Not this time, Gandalf retorted, his beard bristling with frustration. The army of orcs has been dispatched. They are battle-hardened and natural killers. Our enemies are using all their strength. Why are they sending troops now? Thranduil asked contemptuously. Because circumstances forced it, Gandalf explained. Thorin Oakenshield set out with his men to reclaim their lost homeland. It's more than that, Aaron added gravely. When Bilbo and I were searching for the Arkenstone, Smaug mentioned that as long as the necromancers didn't touch Erebor's treasure, they wouldn't prevent them from entering the Lonely Mountain. This is an alternative alliance. The orcs don't have to worry about the dragon attacking them, and they can occupy Erebor unimpeded. This is the only good news, Gandalf said, slightly relieved. At least the Lonely Mountain is not in the hands of our enemies yet. Azog's master wants to control the Lonely Mountain not just for its wealth, but because of its strategic location. It is the key to restoring the old kingdom of Angmar in the north. If that evil kingdom rises again, Rivendell, Lothlorien, the Shire, and even Gondor will be in grave danger. The Shire? Bilbo's eyes widened in astonishment. Gandalf, you mean the Shire? Are you sure you're not joking? Unfortunately, Bilbo, Gandalf shook his head. If we cannot prevent the orcs from occupying the Lonely Mountain, your homeland, the Shire, will not be spared. The peaceful hobbits may be slaughtered. Bilbo was speechless. These orc armies you speak of, Mithrandir, Thranduil looked at Gandalf skeptically. Where are they? Gandalf's face turned blue with anger, and he trembled slightly. He had said so much, yet Thranduil still didn't believe him. Since when did my mediation lose its meaning? Gandalf asked, with a self-deprecating smile. What do you suspect of me? I suspect you want to save your dwarven friends, Thranduil replied. I appreciate your devotion to them, but that doesn't change my plans. You started this matter. Please don't mind me ending it. King Thranduil, Bilbo interjected anxiously, it is absolutely true. Smaug himself said that Sauron's vanguard will set off soon, and the Lonely Mountain is their first stop. We came here not only to fulfill Thorin's promise, but also to prevent this war. Whether elves, dwarves, or humans, we now have a common enemy, the orcs. Thranduil was silent for a moment. He poured himself a glass of wine and sat down calmly. You're the halfling who stole the key to the dungeon right under the nose of my guards. Yes, Bilbo admitted sheepishly. That's right, Thranduil said. You gave up the chance to escape alone and rescued this young wizard and a group of dwarves. Your loyalty to Thorin is no less than that of Mithrandir. Perhaps it is because you want to save your dwarf friend that you cooperate with Mithrandir in weaving this lie. That! Aaron began to speak, but Thranduil cut him off with a glance. I don't trust you either, just as I don't trust the two of them, Thranduil said. King Thranduil, Aaron took a deep breath. Please allow me to say, some things are better believed than not believed. You don't have to trust us, but what if we're right? I don't believe it's even possible, Thranduil sneered, then walked outside the tent. Are the archers ready? All set, your highness, an elf replied. Pass my order, Thranduil commanded. As long as there are people active on that mountain, they will be killed. Wait, Aaron said helplessly. You want white gems, don't you? What are you trying to say? Thranduil asked, his tone laden with meaning. I can help you convince Thorin, but I need some time, Aaron replied in a deep voice. Why should I trust you? Because I came here alone to negotiate with you, and I am willing to give 1/15 of my share to the people of Changhu. Not enough. Thranduil shook his head lightly. That's a deal between you and the humans. It has nothing to do with the elves. Aaron shook his head with a wry smile. Sometimes I really don't understand why I have to worry about you. No matter how chaotic the world is, it has nothing to do with me." He then used Mirage. When he reappeared, he was already behind Thranduil. However, Thranduil reacted quickly, not turning around, but pressing the long sword in his hand against Aaron's abdomen. "Very good magic. I've never seen it before," Thranduil said in admiration, finally looking at the young wizard squarely. "Thank you for the compliment. It's called apparition, a form of teleportation magic," Aaron said lightly. "I only learned it by luck last year." Gandalf's face twitched slightly, looking at Aaron with envy and longing. He was too greedy for this magic. If he could teleport, he wouldn't have to ride a horse every time he traveled far. "What is this? A demonstration or a threat?" Thranduil asked. "Neither." Aaron slowly retreated back to his original spot. "I never thought my little magic could threaten an elf king. I just wanted to show you my ability." "Ahem," Gandalf coughed. "Gaius, who taught you this?" "Apparition." "His ancestors," Bilbo said, exasperated. Aaron raised his eyebrows, then gave a thumbs up. "Those who know me, so do the hobbits. Don't be funny, okay? Whenever you don't want to answer a question, you bring up your ancestors. Is it interesting?" "Interesting," Aaron said directly. Gandalf tactfully shut his mouth, realizing Aaron didn't want to talk about his magic. "Your Majesty the King," Aaron said with a smile, "if you must send troops, I can't stop you, but I will take all the white gems in Erebor and run away." Hearing this, the corner of Thranduil's mouth twitched violently, and the others looked at Aaron, dumbfounded. "Good guy, it's not a threat. It's better than a threat." Thranduil went to war because he wanted to reclaim the national treasure of the woodland elves. If there were no white gems in the Lonely Mountain, capturing that city would be meaningless. "That's a good idea," Thranduil suppressed the anger in his heart and said flatly. "If this is the case, I really can't help it. But you can't take away your dwarf friends, let alone a dwarf kingdom. I am patient enough to take Erebor and wait for you to come back to negotiate." "But it's not good for either of us, is it?" Aaron spread his hands. "That's why I want to solve the problem in a gentle way. King Thranduil, you are more sensible than me, and you should be able to understand what the right decision is." Thranduil frowned slightly and looked deeply at Aaron. "How long do you need?" Aaron didn't answer immediately, but looked at Gandalf. "How long will it take for the orc army to come?" Gandalf blinked, immediately understanding Aaron's plan. Thranduil might not believe it now, but he would have to believe the facts, as long as the elves and dwarves didn't fight before the orcs arrived. "Well, when I was rescued, Azog's army of half-orcs had already set off from Dol Guldur. But Azog is definitely not the only one coming. Since Sauron decided to attack, he would not just make a fuss. He will muster all the troops he can, and we—" Aaron interrupted him impatiently. "Don't tell me what's there or what's not. I don't understand. Just tell me when the enemy will arrive at the latest." 2 days. "Okay." Aaron held out 3 fingers to Thranduil. "I need 3 days. You. Listen to what I have to say first," Aaron said softly. "The white staff mem will be yours, but give me 3 days to make it happen. Present it within 3 days, and I guarantee it in the name of Gaius." "Humph," Thranduil snorted coldly. "I hope you will keep your word." "Naturally," Aaron nodded, then added, "there is something I need to tell you in advance. The army from the Iron Hills will arrive in Erebor soon." "What?" Gandalf was startled. "Dane Ironfoot is coming too?" Thranduil couldn't remain calm either. He had full confidence in his elven troops, but he didn't want to cause unnecessary deaths or injuries. The lives of dwarves were not as valuable as elves to him. "This is good news," Aaron said helplessly. "If the orcs really come to attack, we will have a powerful ally." "What kind of good news is this?" Thranduil still didn't believe that orcs would attack the Lonely Mountain. If it wasn't for the fear that Aaron would escape with their national treasure, he would have sent troops immediately. "Your Majesty, I didn't have to tell you this news, but I chose to anyway. First, to show my sincerity, I revealed Thorin's plans. I only need 3 days. I hope you will not betray my trust. Second, I wanted to prepare you mentally so that you won't be confused and end up fighting the dwarf army when the time comes." Thranduil raised a smile at the corner of his mouth and looked at Aaron meaningfully. "I always thought Thorin was the soul of your team, but now it seems your presence is no less significant than his. Aaron Gaius, right? Young, capable, and courageous. I appreciate you very much. In fact, you don't need to worry about the dwarves at all. You can choose to form an alliance with the elves. The woodland elves will never treat their allies poorly. Chapter 276. The Worst Plan. Gandalf's Request. Aaron was a little dazed. What was going on? Had the king of the woodland elves offered him an olive branch? The elves' friendship was right in front of him, but Aaron shook his head after hesitating for a moment. Thank you for your consideration, but Thorin and the others are my friends. Legolas can also be your friend, Thranduil laughed. His personality is 10,000 times stronger than those stubborn dwarves. Rohwer, you will definitely get along well. Aaron thought to himself, are you really saying that? Who put us in the dungeon by hand? An untimely laugh sounded in the big tent, and Bilbo blinked in embarrassment. Well, a lot of people admire him. Dwarves, Smaug, humans, and now elves. Wait, Gandalf asked unexpectedly, you mean Smaug? When Smaug was in Erebor, he offered to cooperate with Aaron. They could have created an unprecedentedly huge kingdom, but Aaron refused. After these words fell, the human representatives in the big tent, the elf king, and the gray-robed wizard all looked at Aaron in astonishment, wondering what kind of magical power this child possessed to attract the favor of a dragon. "Ha, don't look at me like that, I'm so embarrassed," Aaron said awkwardly. "I'm just an ordinary magician. I just know a little bit of dragon language." "Who the hell are you?" Bard asked curiously. "Your abilities and age don't match at all. Do you really want to know?" Bard nodded blankly, and the others were also curious. "Okay, since you asked sincerely, I will tell you reluctantly." Aaron cleared his throat and said with his head held high, "I am the only heir of the Gaius family, the best in 100 years. My father and grandfather agreed that I would restore the glory of the family, and in fact, I am doing so now." The crowd was silent. He seemed to say something, but it didn't seem to clarify much. "Let's get down to business." Gandalf broke the inexplicable atmosphere in the big tent. "King Thranduil, 3 days can prove everything. But if I don't get what I want, I will have to fight," Thranduil said. "The anger of the elves is no less than that of the dwarves. I hope you, especially someone, will not let me down." "Certainly not," Gandalf promised. "We must go to Erebor and let Thorin tell Dane. His temper will be more violent, and it will be bad if he can't restrain the Ironfoot." "Wait," Aaron stopped him, his face becoming a little more serious. "I overlooked a question. The orcs will take 2 days at the latest to arrive at the Lonely Mountain, and the earliest? Then our time is even shorter. If we march quickly, the enemy may arrive tomorrow." "When tomorrow?" Aaron pressed. "Morning, noon, or evening?" Gandalf frowned and said thoughtfully, "It should be noon if there are no accidents." "And if there are accidents?" Aaron looked nervously at the slowly setting sun outside. "This is a war, and intelligence errors can be fatal. We have to prepare for the worst." Gandalf was stunned for a moment, and after thinking for a while, he said in a flustered voice, "Dawn, if it's the fastest, the army of half-orcs will come to the city at dawn tomorrow." "So fast?" Bilbo said, unable to accept it. They didn't even have time to prepare, and the enemy's army was about to attack. "It's that fast," Gandalf said anxiously. "King Thranduil, please have the army organized and ready for battle at any time." Thranduil frowned slightly and pondered. "The elves will line up in front of River Valley City tomorrow morning. You have to explain clearly to Oakenshield. If he misunderstands, I won't hold back." "I will try my best to convince him." "Bard," Aaron said, "you also need to prepare the people of Laketown to fight. It's better to be safe than sorry. Additionally, the gold you want may have to be delayed for a few days until the battle is over." Bard nodded and then walked out of the big tent. Gandalf also followed Aaron and Bilbo to Erebor. When they got under the city wall, Gandalf looked at the hanging. Gandalf grabbed the rope and felt a hint of malice inexplicably. "Can't we get a hanging basket? Is it really appropriate for him to go up the city wall with a rope at his age?" he thought. Killy, who was already in the city, urged, "What are you doing down there? Hold on to the rope, and we will pull you up." Gandalf shook his head helplessly, tied the rope around himself, and was pulled up by several dwarves. "Why do you think his expression is so awkward?" Bilbo frowned. "It's going to be more awkward next time," Aaron said as he tied Bilbo in a knot with the rope. Thorin is not so easy to persuade. It's true. It's troublesome to think about it, Bilbo agreed. Once they were up on the city wall, a group of dwarves immediately surrounded them. How did the talk go? Baron asked. What did Bard say? If the money is in place, he won't start a war, Gandalf replied. That's good, Balin breathed a sigh of relief. We can fight elves, but there is really no need to fight humans. Gandalf, where have you been? Bofur looked at him puzzled. Why did you come here? Something has happened, Bofur. Where is Thorin? This matter must be brought to his attention. Thorin, Balin paused a little. He is sitting on the throne in the hall. My God, Gandalf rolled his eyes. He's going the way of his grandfather, and this is the hour. No way, said Bilbo. He's allowed us to give some of the gold to the people of Long Lake. That can only prove that he was able to stay awake before, but it's really hard to say now, Gandalf said tiredly. Don't underestimate the magic power of gold, especially gold that has been occupied by dragons for a long time. Anyone who enters this mountain will be polluted by the evil breath of the dragon. Not everyone, Aaron said, looking at Bilbo and then at the dozen or so dwarves beside him. Absolutely not. I have confidence in Thorin. He will not be his grandfather. I hope so, sighed Gandalf, hurrying down the stairs. When they came to the hall, the three of them stood among the massive amount of gold coins, looking up at Thorin wearing the crown. At this moment, Thorin made them all feel a little strange. His eyes were dull and almost colorless. Aaron and Bilbo exchanged worried glances. They had only been away for a short time, and Thorin had changed too much. Thorin, Gandalf called out. Gandalf, have you come back to celebrate me? Thorin asked. No, I'm here to inform you. The orc army is on the way, and they are preparing to attack Erebor. Dane's Ironfoot will kill them all, and damn anyone who tries to steal my gold, Thorin replied. Aaron frowned slightly. What about the gold promised to the people of Long Lake? This is different, Thorin struggled for a moment, then said falteringly, I will give it to them, but isn't 1/15 too much? Aaron smiled lightly and shook his head, hoping Thorin could come to his senses on his own. Otherwise, he would have to use some unconventional means. 1/15 is indeed a little too much. Let's just have it. 1/30 is fine. Aaron, Thorin smiled gratefully. That's right. You don't have to wrong yourself for those irrelevant people. What else do you need? The army of orcs, Gandalf anxiously emphasized. They will attack Erebor tomorrow at the earliest, and the day after tomorrow at the latest. We need you to explain to Dane not to start a war with the elves. Facing the powerful enemy together is the most important thing at the moment. Understood, Thorin said indifferently. Dane is my cousin. He will listen to me, but he doesn't like elves any more than I do. There is no problem with Thranduil, said Bilbo. The army of the elves will be stationed in Dale and will not attack Erebor for a while. They don't have that ability either, Thorin said with disdain. You all have a good rest. Put on your armor and weapons tomorrow and protect our gold. The three looked at each other in blank dismay, but since their goal was achieved, there was no need to waste time. After aving the hall, Bilbo went to the city gate and told the other dwarves about the content of their negotiations in Dale, emphasizing that the orcs might come back to attack Erebor. Everyone was ready for battle. Gandalf approached Aaron with a solemn expression. I should apologize to you. If I'm not mistaken, the most difficult tasks in the team have fallen on your shoulders. Speak directly, Aaron replied, rolling his eyes. Although I am young, don't treat me like a child. You can't fool me. Gandalf paused for a moment, taken aback. I mean it. I'm sincere too, Aaron said, spreading his hands. So can you be more honest? Okay, Gandalf hesitated before continuing. I can see that you don't want to participate in the war very much, but I still hope that you can contribute more to the coalition forces without reservation. Tsk. Aaron clicked his tongue and looked at Gandalf with a half-smile. You left the team halfway, and Thorin and the others were almost eaten by a giant spider in the dark forest. You weren't there, and I risked my life to lure away more than 20 spiders to save everyone. When we were locked in the dungeon by the woodland elves, you weren't there, and I broke the door to let Bilbo out to find the waterway. We were chased by Bolg all the way. Keely was hit by a Morgul arrow and almost died of poison. You weren't there, and it was the medicine I prepared that saved his life. When we finally arrived at the Lonely Mountain, and Thorin and the others couldn't find the secret door, you weren't there. I used a magic compass to find the keyhole. The most unreasonable thing is that when we were fighting Smog, you weren't there. I spent a lot of magic power and a piece of magic crystal to set a trap in Lake Town to kill it. Each "you weren't there" struck Gandalf's heart heavily, making him bow his head in embarrassment. The word "sorry" slipped out of his mouth. He had walked freely at the beginning, but most of the pressure had fallen on a young man named Aaron, which was somewhat unkind. "Although your apology is not entirely sincere, I will reluctantly accept it," Aaron said. "But what I want to say is that I have held back my frustration. You have not respected me, and you have not honored the elderly and the young. Where do you expect me to make more effort?" Gandalf was at a loss for words. Chapter 277, Iron-Foot Army, Give It a Face. Gandalf turned his face away sadly. He didn't expect to be rendered speechless by a child after living for so long. But thinking of the great war that could break out at any moment, threatening the safety of Middle-earth, he still spoke earnestly. "Gaius, at this time, the only one I can count on is you. When I first saw you, I had a feeling that the peace of Middle-earth might rest on your shoulders." "Heh," Aaron sneered, giving him a contemptuous look. "I don't have a sense of mission, and I don't want to be a savior. So don't use such words to placate me." "How can this be placating?" Gandalf said, a bit anxiously. "Don't make me despise you, Gandalf. I admit that you are a good person with a broad perspective, worthy of respect. But when good people become treacherous, they can make bad people cry. Even if I have some skills, I'm still just a child. You can't rely on me alone." Aaron said, a bit exasperated. He then counted on his fingers. "King Elrond, Queen Galadriel, Saruman, Radagast, none of them are less capable than me. Can't you find them?" Gandalf's face twitched slightly, and he forced out an awkward smile. "Queen Galadriel has consumed too much magic power and is now extremely weak. King Elrond is protecting her. Saruman is busy thwarting Sauron's plot, and I don't know when he'll be free. As for Radagast, he's off to gather reinforcements. So, you understand." Aaron felt as if hundreds of millions of alpacas were galloping through his heart. He thought the sky would fall and the tall man would hold it up, but he never expected the tall man to disappear faster than him. "I'm sorry. I've done enough, and I don't want to take any more risks," Aaron said solemnly. "You really found the wrong person. No matter how powerful I am, I'm still only one person, and I can only be crushed when facing an army. So, I can't help." "I don't want you to face an army," Gandalf explained. "There will be a melee, and I need someone who is fully mobile and can handle the three parties of elves, dwarves, and humans to support the battlefield in time. Gaius, you are mighty. There is no one more suitable than you." Aaron blinked, then immediately shook his head. "Impossible. Who do you think I am? I just want to stay as far away from the battlefield as possible. Gandalf, let me tell you something from the bottom of my heart. At this time, I choose to stay and face it with you instead of running away." "Within your power," Gandalf added hastily. "If you say that." Aaron paused slightly. "It's not impossible." Gandalf breathed a sigh of relief, and a smile finally appeared on his face. "Take a good rest." After Gandalf left, Aaron leaned against the city wall and took a nap, focusing on the system task panel. Defeat the half-orc army. Completing the mission rewards 2,000 magic points, and there is no penalty for mission failure. Will the host accept it? Accept it. Just let it take its course. Early the next morning, when the first rays of sunlight appeared in the east, all the members of the expedition team followed Thorin to the city wall. Not far from them were the elf troops in golden armor, ready to go, as well as the human troops from Lake Town. The elf king Thranduil was riding a huge elk, and beside him was Bard riding a white horse. The two slowly passed through the center of the army and arrived at the front of the formation. Because of the agreement reached last night, Thranduil and Bard both restrained their troops and stationed them in front of River Valley City, leaving a large buffer zone between them and Erebor. "Humph," Thorin looked at their troops with a sneer. "This is a demonstration." "No, Thorin, it's not," Gandalf said warily. "They are just guarding against the orc army that may appear at any time." "Really? Where are they? Thorin said indifferently. Let alone the orc army, I haven't even seen a warg. Although you have reached an agreement with them, their fundamental purpose has not changed, to seize the wealth of our family. Thorin Oakenshield, Gandalf began, but Thorin cut him off. Do not place so much value on gold, Gandalf implored. Call me the king, Thorin responded coldly. I am the king. Gandalf sighed deeply, recognizing that Thorin's mental state was deteriorating. He was becoming increasingly arbitrary and unwilling to listen to anyone. But with the enemy at their doorstep, dwarves, elves, and humans could not afford to fight among themselves. Aren't the Iron Feet here yet? Bilbo asked. As soon as the words left his mouth, a black raven flew over and landed on the city wall. They're here, Thorin said with a triumphant smile. The sound of synchronized footsteps echoed from the distant hillside. A large number of dwarf legions approached slowly, led by King Dane, riding a ferocious wild boar. The Iron Foot army was an elite dwarf force, equal in combat power and numbers to the combined armies of elves and humans. The dozen or so dwarves on the city wall cheered loudly, their morale boosted by the arrival of the renowned Iron Foot army. Is this the dwarf king of the Iron Hills? Bilbo asked. He doesn't look very happy. Dane, Thorin's cousin, Gandalf explained, is even more irrational than Thorin. I'm more curious about why he rides a wild boar, Aaron said, puzzled. It doesn't seem fitting for a king, does it? Dane doesn't care about that, Thorin laughed. He likes the impact of the wild boar. Its melee charge is almost unstoppable, much better than a horse. That may be, but Thorin, don't forget what you promised us, Gandalf reminded him. I understand, Thorin waved his hand dismissively. I will try to restrain him, but if the elves and humans don't retreat within 2 days, then there's nothing I can do. The Iron Foot army stopped in front of River Valley City, facing the allied forces of elves and humans from a distance of a few hundred meters. Dane looked at Thranduil with open disdain. Good morning, Dane said sarcastically. If you would be so kind, I have a small suggestion. Can you people just fuck off? Get out of here. Get out immediately, Dane yelled, causing the people of Long Lake, who were vastly outnumbered by the elves, to feel a twinge of fear. Don't get excited, Lord Dane, Gandalf called out. Dane turned to look at the gray-robed wizard on the city wall. Gandalf the Grey, tell these beggars to leave, or I'll make rivers of blood flow from them. Dwarves, humans, and elves don't need to fight. The orc army is coming here. Keep your people calm, Gandalf urged. I can't stay calm in front of the elves, Dane retorted, pointing his hammer at Thranduil. Especially that treacherous woodland elf. All he wants is to make my people suffer. If he dares to obstruct us, I'll screw his head off and see if he dares to smirk again. Thranduil's lips curled into a cold smile. With a gesture, all the archers of the elf army drew their bows and arrows, aiming at the Iron Foot army. Stop! Don't be impulsive, Aaron shouted, apparating to the front of the two armies. King Thranduil, don't forget what we discussed yesterday. I truly want to resolve this dispute peacefully, Thranduil said indifferently, but you have seen Dane's attitude. He pushes his limits, and sometimes a sword is the only way to reason. The overall situation is more important. Think about the white gemstone, Your Majesty, Aaron reminded him. He understood Thranduil's current mood and knew he would feel the same in his position. But restraint was necessary now. A rain of arrows might be satisfying, but it would inevitably lead to a full-scale battle. Thranduil took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and ordered his troops to return to their original formation. Who are you? Dane asked curiously. Which wizard? You can't be Gandalf the Grey's apprentice. Gandalf smiled awkwardly. If he had such an apprentice, he would be overjoyed. Don't get me wrong, Aaron said, shaking his head. Dan shook his head and said, I don't dare to be his apprentice. Otherwise, I might not be able to live a good life, and I would have to support him in turn. Dan was stunned for a moment, thinking of Gandalf's shabby gray robe. He nodded in a mysterious way. Gandalf's reputation was very high, but he wasn't very good at managing his affairs. Bringing another apprentice into his fold would definitely make things worse. Then get out of the way, or I'll kill you along with me, Dan said, then looked at the Iron Foot army behind him. Get ready. Let these bastards taste our power and form an offensive formation. Wait, Aaron said immediately, taking out a jet black key. I want you to restrain your army a bit, and just give it a moment. The key, why is it in your hand? Dan asked, wide-eyed. I gave it to him, Dane, Thorin explained from the wall. Aaron Gaius is the truest friend of the dwarves, and you must not harm him. Soren, Dan was a little puzzled. That key is a token passed down from the Turin family. It has done its work, and now it represents only the friendship of the dwarves. Dan nodded thoughtfully and looked at Aaron with a trace of respect in his eyes. Everyone, set up an attack formation and defeat them. Wait, why are you still fighting? Aaron interjected. Pay attention to me, Dan gave him a reassuring look and added, when attacking, avoid the distinguished guests of the dwarves. Aaron was stunned. How could he play like this? Seeing the Ironfoot army's formation, Aaron quickly regained his senses and set his sights on Thorin. Thorin struggled for a moment but still said, Dan, don't rush to do it yet. Why? Dan asked, puzzled. Soren, when did you become afraid of elves? You know me well. I have never been afraid of them, Thorin said in a deep voice. I may not show the elves any favor, but I will give my friends the necessary respect. So I decided to give them a few days to find out if orcs would attack. If not, it would still not be too late to fight. Chapter 278. The Bravery of the Dwarves, the Pride of the Elves. Since the king has spoken, I will definitely comply, Dan said straightforwardly, immediately ordering the Ironfoot army to march towards the city gate. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief and moved to the city wall. Although the process was a bit tense, the result was favorable. At least there was no fight. Thorin quickly ordered all the dwarves around him to open the city gate, ready to welcome the Ironfoot army into the city. But at that moment, a violent sound erupted from the distant hillside, drawing everyone's attention with its deafening roar. It looks like a ground snake. Gandalf's face changed drastically. They must have cooperated with the orcs. The next moment, several huge and ferocious sandworms burst out of the ground, their densely packed fangs smashing the hard boulders to pieces. However, they didn't attack. They retreated after a brief appearance, leaving several enormous caves on the mountain. Gandalf, don't tell me that our next enemies are all of this size, Aaron said, swallowing hard. If Gandalf dared to say yes, he promised to run away without a second thought. There will be huge enemies, but not too many. The main force of the enemy army is still orcs, Gandalf said, looking at the massive holes. And they have come. You mean the orcs will come out of those holes? Aaron asked in disbelief, shocked by Asog's tactics. He had actually dug tunnels directly to the edge of the lonely mountain. Aaron felt fortunate that the elves, humans, and dwarves hadn't fought each other. Otherwise, the orcs would have taken advantage of the chaos to strike all three parties hard. At the same time, he questioned Asog's intelligence. A little trickery could have made the elves and dwarves kill each other. Could it be that the blood of the orcs didn't allow them to reap the benefits? Forward, my army. Asog the Destroyer called loudly from Raven Ridge in the distance. He aimed to wipe out humans, dwarves, and elves in one fell swoop. The huge command flag was unfurled, and the loud and clear horn sounded. Countless orc legions rushed out of the tunnels dug by the ground snakes. The devil has come against us. Fight, fight, sons of Turin! Dan immediately turned around and led the Ironfoot army to meet the enemy. Although he didn't like elves very much, he knew that orcs were the real enemy. The Ironfoot army, though outnumbered, was fearless. They built a shield wall in the shortest time, their spears protruding through the gaps, ready for battle. I want to join the fight. Who will go with me? Fili said. Okay, let's go, Dwalin roared, and the other dwarves agreed. No one is allowed to go, Thorin suddenly commanded. What? Shall we just stand by and watch? Groin asked in astonishment. I told you not to go, Thorin said emphatically. The dwarves were astonished. They could hardly believe that Thorin would give such an order. Do you want the gold? Aaron asked meaningfully. Even if you see your compatriots die in battle, you don't want to help? Thorin was stunned for a moment, but didn't answer. He walked down the city wall on his own. How did he become like this? Balin felt as if his faith had collapsed. He had always believed that Thorin would become a qualified king and revive the dwarves, but now Thorin's behavior made him heartbroken. He is stronger than his grandfather, and gold cannot fool him. It's not that I don't believe him, but why now? Balin said bitterly. Our compatriots are fighting bloody battles, but we have to stand by. There is no time more suitable than now. Aaron patted him on the shoulder. If it were a time of peace, he would be devoured by gold, and he would be in a daze for a long time. The dwarves were facing a huge crisis, and even though he had his reservations, he couldn't completely turn a blind eye. But it will take time, Bahrain said, looking at the Ironfoot army waiting below with a troubled expression. What we need most is time. Then let's make the time show. Aaron suggested meaningfully. Use this time to organize in-depth lines, go over and scold him severely, and try to wake him up. Is this possible? Feely asked skeptically. Thorin is very stubborn. There is a saying in the ancestral motto of Gaius, language is the most lethal weapon in the world, Aaron replied. As long as the words are sharp enough, paired with convincing acting skills, and when necessary, a few drops of tears to fully express your emotions, you can even scold the gods into submission. We'll talk about that kind of unrealistic thing later, Bilbo interrupted anxiously. The elves, they don't seem to plan to fight. Everyone looked intently. The elves and human coalition forces were maintaining a wait-and-see attitude in front of River Valley City, standing still. Thranduil, Gandalf roared sullenly, you can't do this. Let me go. Aaron spread his hands. We are just hard workers. In an instant, Aaron was sucked into a black and white space vortex and arrived in front of the elf formation. Thranduil, you can't do this, Aaron said in the same tone as Gandalf. I know you have the opportunity to retreat with your back against River Valley City, but you won't keep retreating. Gandalf made it very clear yesterday. I don't know much about the old country of Angmar in the north, but I do know that if the half-orcs revive that country, humans, elves, and dwarves will all be wiped out. The brave dwarves don't allow themselves to rush up second, Thranduil said with some displeasure, but the pride of the elves won't let them hide behind the dwarves. Aaron froze for a moment, then saluted Thranduil respectfully. He tactfully retreated to the side, making way for the elves. Seeing this, Bard also wanted to bring his men over to help. You have to stay here, Aaron stopped him. But, no buts, there are too many half-orcs. Your people can't even make a dent if you join in. I hate to say it, but we need a way out in case the dwarves and elves lose, Aaron said solemnly. It's not pessimism, it's a fact. There are many old people and children in the city. Bard nodded in a daze, then looked at Aaron. Can you help us? I can only say that I will do my best, Aaron replied, not finishing his sentence. He was just a high-level magister. He could protect himself on such a battlefield, but he couldn't affect the outcome of the war. Saying this, Aaron apparated to the walls of Erebor. What did you say to Thranduil? Gandalf asked. Nothing much, Aaron replied, looking at the elf army rushing towards the dwarf army. He couldn't help but sigh. Thranduil is much wiser than I thought. Although his personality is a bit cold and domineering, which people don't like, there is no doubt that he is a qualified king. Of course he is a qualified king, Gandalf said matter-of-factly. Thranduil has protected his people for several epochs. Amazing, Aaron said, raising his black wand and pointing it at the distant sky, waving his arms continuously. What are you doing? Gandalf asked. Isn't it obvious? Aaron curled his lips in disdain. I am a wizard. Of course I fight with magic. Gandalf felt a bit awkward. He was also a wizard, and his magic power was not weaker than Aaron's, but his combat power was really flawed. On the battlefield, just when the half-orc army was about to confront the Ironfoot army head-on, the elf troops suddenly jumped out from behind the dwarves and came to the front to fight with the half-orcs. Not to be outdone, the Ironfoot army took up their spears and resolutely charged into the enemy army. The two races that originally disliked each other turned enemies into allies at this moment, fighting side by side against the Orc Legion. The three forces were now mixed together in the heat of battle. Deploy the behemoth of war, Aesog ordered calmly. The several-meter-tall giant war beasts slowly emerged from the massive cave. With their enormous bodies, they rampaged across the battlefield, causing significant casualties among both elves and dwarves. See, nang this, Thranduil immediately commanded the elf archers to attack. A volley of golden arrows rained down like a downpour, instantly killing several war beasts and dozens of orcs. Simultaneously, the dwarves deployed their chariots, which proved extremely lethal, decimating a large number of orcs in one swift strike. However, the chariots were quickly countered by the giant beasts. Using their massive bodies as shields, the beasts blocked the goats pulling the chariots and then overturned them from the side. Without their chariots, the dwarven cavalry found themselves at a severe disadvantage, quickly overwhelmed by the enemy forces. "They can't fight on two fronts," Asog observed from Raven Ridge. He noted that River Valley Town was a vulnerable point that the dwarves and elves couldn't defend. He immediately issued a military order: begin the assault on River Valley City. At the sound of the horn, a group of half-orc troops who had been resting and regaining their strength saw the signal and promptly turned to march towards River Valley Town. If River Valley Town fell, the dwarves, elves, and humans would have no escape, facing certain death against the massive orc army. "Damn it," Aaron cursed angrily. "I knew Asog would plan it this way." "Bard and the others won't hold out for long," Gandalf said worriedly. "The humans don't have many warriors. But we must fight to the death. Before that, I will help reduce the strength of the half-orc army," Gandalf declared. As he spoke, a giant magic circle formed in the sky, casting a dark purple light on the ground. Zip, zip, purple arcs flickered in midair, and the orc army marching towards River Valley Town sensed a tremendous threat, causing them to halt. Rumble! In the next moment, violent purple lightning descended from the magic circle. Purple thunderbolts exploded within the orc army, turning the surrounding sky a vivid shade of purple. However, this beautiful color masked a destructive power. "Ah!" Agonized screams echoed as 1/10 of the orc army attacking River Valley City fell to the ground, their bodies charred black. The black smoke rising from their corpses was even more repulsive. Chapter 279, The Great Grey-Robed Wizard, The End of the Doppelganger. The thunderstorms came and went quickly, but the immense impact left an indelible impression on everyone's hearts. Whether they were elves, dwarves, humans, or half-orcs, all eyes were fixed on the city wall of Erebor in shock. In their understanding, only powerful wizards could wield such magic, and there happened to be one present. On the city wall of Erebor, Bilbo and a dozen or so dwarves stared at Aaron blankly, a mix of strangeness and indescribable awe in their eyes. Fortunately, Gandalf had the foresight to recognize Aaron's talents and included him in the expedition team. Having someone of such strength as a mere snitch seemed a gross understatement. Sensing the eyes of the others on him, Aaron's heart skipped a beat. He quickly reacted and looked at Gandalf with reverence. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Gandalf asked, puzzled, though an ominous premonition lingered in his heart. The next moment, Aaron grabbed Gandalf's right hand, which held the staff, and shouted to the battlefield below, "Long live Gandalf! Long live the gray-robed wizard!" He used an amplifying spell to ensure his voice reached everyone's ears. The morale of the dwarves and elves soared instantly. Despite being outnumbered, they fought with renewed vigor, even faintly overwhelming the orc army. With a powerful mage supporting them, they saw hope even against enemies several times their number. King Dane laughed heartily while riding a wild boar. "Gandalf the Grey, we have wizards to help us." Thranduil looked at the city and frowned slightly. He knew Gandalf's capabilities, and such powerful magic was beyond him. However, he had no time to satisfy his curiosity, and the boost in morale was beneficial. Conversely, the half-orc army felt a wave of depression. They had intended to crush the elves and dwarves with their overwhelming numbers, but now faced an unexpected disadvantage. The presence of a legendary wizard was not to be underestimated. Preparing powerful magic took time, but no one wanted to experience the devastating thunder again. Gandalf came back to his senses, his face flushed with anger, twitching constantly. The right hand holding the staff trembled violently. Initially, he had been somewhat pleased, thinking that if Gaius made a move, he would be exposed. Even if he tried to flee, the orcs would never let him go, and Asog's bounty would spread across the continent by the next day. But he never expected someone to play such a trick. This operation had blinded him and opened a new world of possibilities. Gandalf had never been so prominent in his life, but he didn't want this kind of attention. Behind this newfound fame was a huge burden. It was one thing to be recognized by his own troops, But now the half-orc army also remembered him. He could only imagine the terrifying targets he would face if he left the battlefield. Winning this battle was crucial. Losing would mean a life of constant danger. Gaius, you are really... You don't need to thank me. You really don't need to thank me. Aaron interrupted hastily, as if he were thinking of Gandalf's best interests. From today onwards, the gray-robed wizard will become famous. Do I need it? Gandalf retorted with a dark face. Are you trying to get me killed? Of course, Aaron spread his hands. I need a shield, and no one is more suitable than you. I am just a little-known wizard, and my deterrent power is far inferior to that of the gray-robed wizard. With you standing on the city wall, I won't be so conspicuous below. Gandalf, but you could have warned me, Gandalf muttered. The magic just now. Gandalf hesitated. The ultimate thunder elemental magic, Aaron said solemnly. No, I'm asking if you can use it again. If we can, we might still have a chance to win, Gandalf replied. Unfortunately, I must disappoint you, Aaron chuckled. Only a great magister can fully harness the power of the ultimate magic circle. With my current level of magic power, using such a spell would consume more than 10 times my available magic power. That's okay, Gandalf said, looking at the battlefield with some hope. Even if it only destroys some enemies, it can greatly boost our morale and reduce the pressure on us. No, Aaron refused bluntly. First of all, it's a waste of time. Secondly, I'm not that selfless. I need to save some strength for myself in case I need to escape. Gandalf froze for a moment. You are really honest. By the way, why don't you use powerful magic? Aaron asked, puzzled. Well, Gandalf hesitated. The work of a wizard is more about guidance and strategy. Vera does not allow us to use too much force, and our magic power is greatly restricted. Suddenly, the horn sounded, and Asog on Raven Ridge gave another order. Attack! Keep on attacking. Wizards are no big deal. We have to win this battle. Following his order, the half-orc army, which had been stunned by the thunder, quickly adjusted its formation and continued to move towards River Valley City. Additionally, more than a dozen giant beasts carrying catapults emerged from the cave. They bent down at a high place, and the half-orcs on their backs controlled the catapults to launch a destructive attack on the city wall of River Valley City, clearing the way for the orc army. River Valley City had been abandoned for many years and was already dilapidated. Compared to the city gate, the guard force of the city wall was seriously insufficient, making it easier to breach. Upon seeing this, Bard immediately ordered his troops to retreat into the city to protect their families. Not good, Gandalf said solemnly. We have to go support River Valley City. How can we get there? Bilbo asked anxiously. There is a battlefield between us. Gaius, can you help us? Gandalf asked. Okay, but just the two of you won't help much. And Gandalf, you are now the spiritual support of the coalition forces. Are you sure? Aaron questioned. That's why I want to go. Gandalf's tone was firm. The retreat must be guarded. After Asog restrains the elves and dwarves, he will definitely send a large army to occupy River Valley City, which will become the second battlefield. Understood. I will help you, Aaron nodded. His body emitted a burst of white light, and he allocated half of his magic power to create a thought projection. Everyone on the city wall was shocked, but Bilbo seemed to have realized something and looked at Aaron in disbelief. It was you who fought Smaug in Long Lake Town 2 days ago? Bilbo asked. Aaron spread his hands, expressing helplessly that he had indeed told the truth at the time, but no one believed him. The thought projection stepped forward and grabbed the left and right hands of Gandalf and Bilbo, teleporting them to Bard. These two are your reinforcements, the thought projection said to Bard. They will help you. Wait, Gaius. Gandalf hurriedly stopped the thought projection. You will be needed here. I didn't say I wouldn't stay, the thought projection replied, then looked at the side wall. The ferocious half-orc army was less than 100 meters away from the city wall. Bard, I'll try to buy time, but it won't last long. Thank you, Bard nodded heavily, then led everyone back into the city. He had to arrange for the old, weak, women, and children in the city as soon as possible. The thought projection apparated to the arrow tower inside the city wall and greeted several guards concisely. Aaron Gaius, a wizard, Bard asked me to help you. We can't hold out for long, but we will hold as long as we can. Don't force it. As soon as the words fell, he saw a giant beast speeding up and launching a fierce charge against the city wall with its head. Ruthless man. No! Ruthless beast! Nyan smacked his lips and took a deep breath. Fire dragons. Roar. Boom. Crimson flames spewed out from Aaron's mouth, sending the giant beast flying tens of meters away. The beast rolled several times on the ground, crushing more than 10 orcs to death. This is much more powerful than the flame curse, but the mana consumption is staggering. We should use it sparingly, Nyan thought to himself. However, when he saw the orc army in front of him, he immediately calmed down. He was not Smaug. Even if he and his main body were drained of their mana, they wouldn't be able to kill half of these enemies. Thinking of this, Nyan grabbed a piece of gravel and used transformation magic to turn it into a long sword. Soon, the half-orc army was approaching the city. Several guards were extremely nervous, and a younger one even trembled, but still tightly held his bow and arrow. They all knew very well that half-orcs were extremely cruel and completely inhumane. Even if they surrendered, they would be tortured to death. Fighting to the death was the best and only choice. Nyan was also a little nervous, but there was a bit of excitement in the tension. He had only seen scenes of thousands of troops in movies, but now it was actually happening in front of his eyes. Even though he was facing thousands of legions, he still felt his blood boil. He remembered that when he was trained by djinns, he was evaluated as barely able to stop 100 with one. Today was a chance to test his most realistic combat power. You guys, Nyan looked at the others. I'll kill in a while. You cover me with bows and arrows and retreat when the arrows are finished. No, the oldest man denied. Son, you don't know the horror of orcs. Even if you are a wizard, you can't deal with so many people. Hearing this, Nyan smiled. Maybe I didn't introduce myself clearly just now. Aaron Gaius, main wizard and deputy swordsman. No way, you're too young. If you must delay the time, my old bones. Whatever I tell you to do, you do, Aaron said as he swung the long sword in his hand vigorously. The cold sword light flickered, and a long sword mark was drawn on the ground. Any comments now? No, no more. The corners of the old man's eyes twitched slightly. He wasn't sure if Nyan was so powerful, but he was sure that he himself was definitely not so fierce when he was young. I don't mean to disrespect you at all, but don't underestimate me. Nyan patted the old man's shoulder, then jumped off the city wall several meters high, blocking the half-orc army alone. Nyan took the initiative to attack, swinging the long sword in his hand and entering the half-orc army formation. Where the sword's edge passed, blood gushed like a fountain, and heads rolled down. He killed more than 10 orcs in an instant, and his clothes were stained with a layer of black blood. At the same time, several guards on the city wall started to shoot arrows quickly to try to prevent the orcs from approaching. But in the face of a large number of enemy troops, the effect was destined to be limited. Since the previous round of boulders had already destroyed the city wall, Nyan could only attract a small number of enemies. More half-orcs chose to enter the city from other directions. Nyan naturally noticed this, but he was alone. The frontal struggle was already helping the people of Changhu to share the pressure, and there was nothing more he could do. Help but smile. Now, let's see the fruits of our labor. The magic circle began to hum with energy, and the ground beneath it trembled. The dwarves watched in awe as the blue light coalesced into a towering figure. Slowly, the form of an ice dragon emerged, its scales shimmering like frozen crystals, and its eyes glowing with an eerie blue light. By the gods, Balin whispered, his eyes wide with amazement. You've created an ice dragon. Aaron nodded, his expression a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction. Indeed, this is a guardian, a powerful ally that will fight for us. It will help turn the tide of battle. The ice dragon let out a deafening roar, shaking the very foundations of the city walls. The dwarves, despite their initial fear, felt a surge of hope. This creature, born of magic and dragon's blood, was a symbol of their resilience and determination. Now we have a fighting chance, Philly said, his voice filled with renewed determination. Aaron, still pale from the blood loss, managed a weak smile. Yes, but remember, this is just a tool. The real strength lies within all of you. Use this opportunity wisely. Balin placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder. Thank you, Gaius. You've given us hope when we needed it most. Aaron nodded, feeling a sense of camaraderie with the dwarves. Let's not waste any more time. We need to join the battle and support our people. With the ice dragon leading the charge, the dwarves and Aaron made their way to the battlefield. The sight of the majestic creature bolstered the morale of the allied forces, and they fought with renewed vigor. As the battle raged on, the ice dragon proved to be a formidable force, freezing enemies with its icy breath and crushing them with its powerful claws. The tide of the battle began to turn in favor of the dwarves and their allies. Thorin, who had been in a state of despair, was finally roused from his stupor by the sight of the ice dragon. He realized the gravity of the situation and the loyalty of his people. With a newfound resolve, he joined the fray, fighting alongside his kin. The combined efforts of the dwarves, the ice dragon, and their allies eventually led to a hard-fought victory. The enemy forces were driven back, and the city was saved. As the dust settled and the cheers of victory filled the air, Aaron looked around at the exhausted but triumphant faces of the dwarves. He knew that this battle had forged an unbreakable bond between them. "Thank you, Gaius," Thorin said, approaching Aaron with a grateful expression. "You have my eternal gratitude." Aaron shook his head. "No need for thanks. We all fought for the same cause. Now, let's rebuild and ensure that such a threat never looms over us again." The dwarves nodded in agreement, their spirits lifted by the victory and the promise of a brighter future. Together, they began the arduous task of rebuilding their city, knowing that they had the strength and unity to face any challenge that came their way. Aaron couldn't hide the excitement in his eyes. "Roar!" As the voice fell, a tangible dragon roar emanated from the magic circle. The sound wasn't overly loud, but it was enough to reverberate across the battlefield. Elves, dwarves, half-orcs, and humans alike turned their gazes towards Erebor, the dwarf kingdom, in astonishment. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. "Isn't Smaug dead? Could it be that he left behind a cub?" they wondered. A white ice dragon, over 10 meters tall, emerged from the magic circle. It flew out of the city wall and circled above Erebor, its entire body exuding a chilling cold air. The fighting soldiers and horses all halted. Although the dragon appeared less formidable than Smaug, it was still a dragon. Dragons are far more terrifying than any battlefield meat grinder. Beyond their devastating breath, their fangs and claws alone could sweep through large areas. Aaron looked up at the ice dragon he had created, and a surge of pride filled his heart. A magister might not be able to change the course of a battlefield, but a dragon was a different story. Although it wasn't a real dragon, merely a perfect combination of ultimate ice attribute magic and transfiguration, the dragon blood and the blood of the dragon slayer magician endowed it with some dragon power. It was definitely not a simple creation. "You made this?" Balin asked, dumbfounded. The other dwarves stood there in a daze, speechless with shock. "If it wasn't me, then who?" Aaron rolled his eyes. "But there's one last step before it joins the battlefield." Snap! Aaron snapped his fingers, and the phantom of Gandalf appeared on the back of the ice dragon. "I am Gandalf the Grey," the phantom introduced himself solemnly. His voice, amplified by a spell, was clearly heard by everyone. "Elves, dwarves, and humans, this battle may be difficult, but if we stand united, victory is within our grasp. Grab your weapons, take care of your comrades, and slay these evil bastards. Believe me, the time to counterattack will come soon." As Gandalf's phantom disappeared, the ice dragon roared and joined the fray. The ice dragon, more than 10 meters long, became the absolute overlord of the battlefield. With its ability to fly, the orcs were like lambs to the slaughter. Each flap of its wings sent half-orcs flying, and its fangs and sharp claws were deadly weapons. Countless half-orcs were disemboweled, meeting gruesome ends. On Raven Ridge, Azog watched the ice dragon wreak havoc, his teeth grinding in anger. He had firmly controlled the situation, and it was only a matter of time before he wiped out the elves and dwarves. But now, the opposing camp had a dragon, throwing the stable battle into chaos. However, Azog remained confident. If Smaug were still alive, it would be a different story, but the ice dragon could be killed with some effort. "Kill it," Azog commanded coldly. "It's not a real dragon, just a product of magic. Have the giants besiege it and use the catapults to bring it down." "Yes!" The half-orcs in charge of delivering orders immediately changed the order flags, blew the horns and issued new commands. The behemoths on the battlefield, upon receiving the order, abandoned their fights with the elves and dwarves. They gathered in groups of 3 and 4, focusing on the ice dragon in the sky. Each dive of the ice dragon took down 1 or 2 behemoths, but their dying counterattacks left scars on its body. Coupled with occasional catapult attacks, the ice dragon had to be cautious, avoiding boulders while flying. After all, it wasn't a real dragon and could lose its combat effectiveness if hit by boulders a few times. It's about as I expected, Aaron thought, watching the unfolding battle. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. Asug's war beast has been temporarily restrained, so Dan and Thranduil should suffer less damage. You actually summoned a dragon, Beaufort said incredulously. It's really unbelievable. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have believed it. This isn't a summoning technique, but a transfiguration spell, Aaron explained, somewhat embarrassed. It just consumes a lot of energy, and I'm afraid I won't be able to use powerful magic for a while. But why did you choose to borrow Gandalf's image? Balin asked. Aaron smiled mysteriously. Isn't it obvious? I borrowed Gandalf's reputation. I'm just a child. What bad intentions could I possibly have? Balin was left speechless. Meanwhile, Gandalf, who was fighting the orcs alongside Bilbo in Riverdale City, sneezed several times in succession. He glanced at the ice dragon battling the giant beast in the distance. Remembering the voice he had heard earlier, he couldn't help but feel his blood pressure rise. This is too much. It's outright bullying. There's no respect for the elderly anymore, Gandalf grumbled. Are you all right, Gandalf? Bilbo asked, somewhat worried. I'm fine. What could possibly be wrong? Gandalf replied irritably. But some people can't stand to see me doing well. Believe it or not, if I appeared outside the city, I'd be besieged and killed by countless orcs immediately. Bilbo's mouth twitched. Actually, I also want to ask, is there something you did to Aaron? I understand him. He wouldn't do this without a reason. No, Gandalf said, a guilty look flashing in his eyes. At most, I imposed some responsibilities on him. But even if he was upset, he already complained. This is too much. It's like a death sentence. Hearing this, Bilbo looked at Gandalf speechlessly, a forced smile on his face. I won't comment on your actions, but if we win this battle today, it will be worth it, even if you feel cheated. If we lose, well, at least you'll leave a strong mark in history. Gandalf sighed. I'm worried, old friend. Are you sure this is supposed to be comforting?